Dak,
Sigh.
I have a list of questions for you.
And what are those questions?
They're all One Piece related, but the first question is, how's your day?
Oh, my day's going fantastic. I'm getting over this cold finally. My voice is sounding better. It doesn't hurt to talk, so that's a benefit. So I'm doing
That's good
great.
to hear.
And the chapter was unbelievably great. So that's already a reason to be in a
Yeah,
good mood.
that's always a win, right?
Well, how are you doing? That's my
Oh, I'm
question.
doing great, dude. I'm doing fantastic. Just woke up, actually.
Oh.
Just crawled out of bed, and here we are talking about One Piece. You know it.
That's how it is. That's what we all do. We wake up and then One Piece is on the mind.
And you know who else is crawling out of bed? All
Who's
of the
that?
other Goresei members.
Oh yes, I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
they're finally waking up.
I thought you were gonna say your 5 cats are finally.
Oh no, they're
But-
always awake. They don't sleep.
But
They're-
yes,
they're
the
awful.
Goresei, yes, and that's unbelievably exciting, man. That's I don't think a lot of people had that on their bingo card.
No. I mean, I was on board with the notion of the Holy Knights coming in. I was like, okay, yeah, like Saturn getting whooped, Kizaru's getting whooped. Maybe we need some Holy Knights. He did us even better. He did us even better, and we're getting the Goresei here. But with all the Goresei leaving Marijois, or supposedly leaving to come here, it does make me think about when Katarina Devon stole Saturn's face, his appearance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, what's stopping Devon from walking up to Marijois right now? Does it have anything to do with Blackbeard's plan? What do you think Blackbeard is up to? That is the main topic of today's video. Just anything Blackbeard related. We can go off on tangents. That is totally cool. We are known for tangents here. So let me know some of your insight.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. I have not thought about the fact that Katarina having Saturn's identity, or whatever you want to call it, for the powers, like the clone ability. And now that the Goresei are gone, or at least their forms, now we don't know.
Yeah.
I think about their bodies. Like, are their human bodies still in the same place, and those forms are just completely separate? Because we haven't even seen Saturn. Because remember, he did the same thing. He was on the ship in his human form, and then the circle popped up. So that's interesting. I have not thought about that. So maybe over the course of this discussion, my brain will come up with something. But as for Katarina in general, I think the original purpose for her doing that was to control the seraphim. Because even if they get York, which we are going to definitely talk about, because that's a big part of my Blackbeard agenda. We don't know where Lafitte's at, and a lot of pieces there. But for Katarina, if she gets to appear as Saturn, then she should get to control the seraphim, which they're at the top of the hierarchy. Now, does Bonnie's hierarchy thing count for the seraphim also, not just the Mark IIIs? That we don't know about. I would doubt it, because most of the seraphim aren't Kuma, right? Only Esper kind of is. And so then Katarina would not be able to get overridden by anybody, because if you're the same tier, you don't get overridden unless the other person's unconscious or whatever, right? And so also, even if York helps and maybe helps them get the seraphim or makes them new seraphim, whatever it is, well, then it's also a layer of York isn't a combatant. If they go out and use the seraphim anywhere, they need to have a combatant that can control them, because York would just be almost it would cause them trouble. Yeah, because York's out there and they're like, oh, hey, that person's the one who controls the seraphim. Go take her out, and then we're good. Then the last orders would stay forever, I guess. So you needed someone on the crew who could command them, and I think that's what Katarina's doing for sure.
I like that. Yeah, someone on the crew who isn't an absolute loser, right? You're hey, let's beat Katarina isn't exactly the same as, hey, let's go beat York. Because York, from what I recall, we didn't see her get defeated, but all she had was a gun, and then we knew that Robin and Chopper and Atlas were heading her direction, and then we cut over and York is chained up to the ground. It's okay, yeah, she wasn't really that difficult of a fight, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would also assume. And, speaking of that, have you thought about how weird it is that everybody has left that room that York was tied up in? The only people left in that room, I'm pretty sure, is Kaku in the bubble. Because
Kaku in the bubble. Oh, go ahead.
And I was going to say, it's just because they split into groups where Nami and Usopp and whatever, they're, on the edge of the cloud, looking over at the giants. Brooke and Lilith are on the ship, about to fly off the Labo Stratum. No,
Yep.
Did we just forget about York? Did we just forget? She's in the control room where you can turn the lasers off and on.
Yeah.
She already did. She already put the code in. She obviously, Oda's already
knows
had
what's
her
up.
involved in this. So.
And not
And
only
we're-
did she put the code in, but she was there when Stella cracked the code too. So even if Vegapunk put in a new code, she was in the room. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And you know, like I mentioned a little bit before, we still don't know where Lafitte is right now, right? And
Yes.
you think about how Brooke is riding the Sunny off of the Labostratum, and they were just, and I actually was bringing this up even before they brought it up in the chapter, and I was pretty pumped about that whenever they actually brought it up, because just I love when Oda's like super consistent, because I was like, you know, if the ship flies off the edge of the Labostratum, it's gonna get fried by the lasers, and that's what's happening. Like then they brought it up, like, hey, we haven't turned those off yet, you know, like what, this isn't good, and so.
Yeah, something's going on.
And so somebody has to turn those off, I think, for the Sunny to escape. You know what I mean? To get out of the Labostratum. York's the only one in the room. Lafitte can hypnotize people. What if Lafitte just hypnotizes York? Hey, turn those off. Go get the seraphim. Let's leave. And then that's it.
It's a dicey one because the only drawback with that I have is that Lilith said that she had a plan. We don't know what the plan is, but I don't know. Like, so Lilith is known for her bubbles because she's the first one who introduces to the bubble gun. I don't know how that's going to save the Sunny. You know, flat up, I don't know how that's going to save the Sunny. She doesn't have like a remote control for the control panels. So maybe it does have to do with releasing York. I'm just not 100% sure, but I like the idea that Lafitte deactivates it and then he steals York and the seraphim, because the seraphim are another thing too. Like they're left alone. Like it's so strange to me. Yeah, with Cypher Pole agents.
And remember, the basement is in the Labostratum, and like in the cloud part, right? The basement isn't below Egghead; it's in the like inside the cloud, basically. So
Upstairs
York
basement.
and the Seraphim are just, and Kaku, all those forces are just sitting there by themselves,
hanging out. You know, hey, I'm not a celestial dragon, but if I were in the Straw Hats position, I would have put collars on all these guys, have them chained around, walking behind me with the bubbles on them. Like, I would take every precaution to make sure that these guys do not escape and become a hindrance later. Like, it's crazy, because here's the thing. York, whatever, right? York's not a combatant. We already talked about that, but she does have control over a lot of things here on Egghead. Kaku, even though we can beat Kaku black and blue, he's still one of those characters you don't want on the loose. Like, even though Zoro, Sanji, like, everybody can beat him, you still don't want to fight him. Like, that's, like, the moral of the story with Kaku. So, like, at the very least, I'd have, like, a giraffe chained up behind me. You know what I mean? I'd be like one of the celestial dragons over here.
And I think that's an interesting tie to, like whenever we first got back to Egghead, like, after the night, because we didn't know what happened overnight yet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just skipped forward. Well, it really bothered me that Lucci was just chilling in the back and like nobody was keeping tabs on him. You know, he's just leaking intel to the Kizaru, basically, I think, because Kizaru was telling Saturn what Lucci told him. So like I think he was telling, you know, some of the Marines or Kizaru, whatever it was. So basically, you know, nobody was keeping tabs on Lucci that whole time. So now we carry that forward. Kaku being by himself, all these other entities. It's like Oda's already done this. You know, like the Straw Hats. Like you said, I agree that should be happening, but the Straw Hats never think that far ahead. You know what I mean? They trust. There's no reason to trust Kaku or Lucci, but they do. Like at least enough to like they teamed up with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think it's one of those things where like we can beat those characters, so the Straw Hats don't care too much. And I feel like that rings true for Kaku, but Lucci's so different though, right? Like Lucci, while Gear 5th did beat him, right now he's like 1v1ing Zoro and stalling him, and I'm like, dang, dude, like I was kind of hoping like if we did let him roam free, we could at least take him down pretty quickly. But that doesn't seem to be the case right here, which is totally fair. I mean, I like Rob Lucci as a character, so you know, I'm eating good. But for the Straw Hats, I'm like, come on, guys, you could have like, you know, subdued him a lot earlier if you really wanted to.
Exactly, and I mean that's a whole thing. Which you know, I know we're trying to talk about, you know, Blackbeard here. And
no, like I said, tangents are welcomed. Tangents are welcomed.
I was gonna say, you know, the Zoro and Lucci thing. You know, because now that the Goresei are pulling up, I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, Chapter 1111 is going to be a big one for Zoro," which I do agree with, because that's, you know, it's his bounty, his birthday, all that kind of stuff, whatever. But it's like, you know, if people are thinking, oh, the Goresei are pulling up, Zoro, maybe he's going to go clash with one of them and something will happen. I'm like, look, if Zoro can't beat Lucci right now for whatever reason, and he goes and you know, successfully clashes with the Goresei, I don't even know what to
What
think
does that say
anymore.
about Lucci?
Yeah, is Lucci Lucci needs promoted. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we're not paying him enough.
Exactly. My opinion is that Zoro is tired from Wano still because like he had a week to heal, but at the same time he had like multiple fights basically because of the mink drugs and stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe that's part of it. Like he can't go all out because of that, and that would be another Sabo parallel. So I actually really like that.
Oh, that's
Um,
nice. I didn't even think about that.
yeah, that's actually my favorite reason for it is that if he ever says it at any point, because like Zoro's also stronger because in Sabo Odi was super obvious that that was the case that he was tired, but it's not super obvious now. But maybe it's because he's stronger that it's like his baseline strength is so much higher now. You know what I mean? Even when he's weak, he's still really strong instead of like being actually like bending over, not able to run, like kind of like he was in
Yeah.
parts of Sabo Odi.
He couldn't escape Kizaru at the time.
Exactly, because like Zoro's not even using three sword style at the moment. Which like
Yeah.
it's like is he not taking it seriously? Is he? I think earlier he was using it. I think like when he first started. And I know he had like the Conqueror's hockey going. On all the
Yeah, he had
swords.
like the King of Hell aura on him, and then now it's gone. And it's like it's a very
Yeah,
inconsistent
weird.
fight. But maybe when we hit the anime, it's like all explained. Like he lost his third sword. It fell off somewhere. King of Horror or King of Hell aura like worn off because he ran out of stamina. I don't know. There's
Yeah,
so many things with that fight, man.
yeah. That is such a weird one. That is like I did not think Oda would go that route. Although one thing I do want to mention that I guess is kind of like theory related. That's kind of cool is I think it's so interesting that Oda sent Jinbei after him because remember Jinbei fought Who's Who. And so
Yes.
so he might walk in like, hey, I know a thing or two. Like, well, also I guess I should say, remember Who's Who mentioned like Jinbei saw him before, like, oh, don't you remember my face? And Jinbei's like, well, if you take that mask off, I might remember or whatever. Maybe that story of how they met in the past can come into play somehow when Jinbei pulls up. Because I think the fact Oda picked Jinbei to go after him, I think that is definitely important. Now I don't know where it's going to go exactly, but that I think like Oda's doing something special there because also with the 11:11 thing, it's gonna have to be like next chapter or the chapter after because next is 11:10 that Zoro finishes that fight or does whatever the special thing is tied to 11:11 if there is one. And I don't know what it is. Like I would expect next chapter we see Jinbei pull up and that kind of discussion happens because I don't know. Luffy also needs help in some way.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally agree with you. I think next chapter we're gonna get all the reinforcements. We're gonna get Jinbei on the Zoro front. We're gonna get the ancient robot, hopefully, on Luffy's front, and Dorian
Yes.
Brogy. Like Dorian Brogy, I'm actually surprised they haven't shown up yet, considering how big they are. Like,
Yeah.
like I feel like in 3 steps they would make it to the middle of the island, and it's like, okay, all right, how big is this island really that the Giants haven't made it here yet?
Agreed. And I think another part about Dorian Brogy too that a lot of people have been talking about is like, if Dorian Brogy come over and help Luffy, then Mr. 3 needs promoted in the Cross Guild,
Yeah.
because like Dorian Brogy, if they can throw hands with Goresei members on any level, even if it's just a little bit, like to stall them. I mean, Mr. 3, man. And I get Mr. 3 had the plans. It was like premeditated. He had multiple people helping him. I get all that element, all that stuff. I get it. But man, if I see Dorian Brogy throw hands with Goresei, I just power
It's
scaling's
gonna
out
be
the
crazy.
window. There's no more
Yeah.
power scaling.
I mean, with Mr. 3, people always say like, "Hey, Dorian and Brogy weren't at full capacity. They didn't have their weapons," and that's all
Yeah.
true. But at the same time, they still couldn't break the wax to get out. And I was like,
Yes.
"Dang, like that's like that's a little bit different from like like forget about like the whole thing where they stabbed each other. Mr. 3 had the wax going, but like they
Yeah.
couldn't break out of that wax. I feel like if Mr. 3 just kept on training throughout the 2 years, I feel like he would be quite powerful. As silly as that sounds, it's one of those things. It's like Gecko Moria, right? He was
Yes.
prime Moria at one point, and then he just stopped training and he fell off. I think the same can be sillily said for Mr. 3. He should have
I-
kept on going.
I completely agree. He has one of the most broken fruits, and it's like it shouldn't be that broken. But like you said, the fact that he did, like he put the wax on Dorian Brogy's hands and feet and stuff, and they couldn't break out of it. That tells you right there how strong it is. Because like you go to Impel Down, and he blocked like the poison or venom or whatever, or I think it was just the poison. I think the venom melted it, but the
Yeah.
poison couldn't get through. And it's like, okay, like that, like that it has multiple uses now. You know, it's like, okay, like this thing can get through enemies or like fight enemies that nobody else can fight because like it can make contact with them, you know, that when it shouldn't. It's like unbreakable. It's like that. He also he's made keys, right? So he can like
Yep.
break people out. Like that is OP, man. And I think it's also a good story in like fruits are only as good as the beholder because like Mr. 3 makes the beholder the holder, I guess it's whatever, you know what I mean.
It sounded good.
Yeah, it sounded good. Mr. 3, like he makes really good use of it, but I'm just like, man, imagine if you gave that to like someone who has Conqueror's hockey and stuff. You know what I mean? Or could you make it even more indestructible? Like could it, you know what I'm saying? Like it's
Man.
already that strong and you're able like imagine fighting Magellan and like putting Conqueror's hockey on the wax so you can make what's like Conqueror's you don't even make contact, so I guess it doesn't help that much, but it's still just like that layer of protection like you give that to a strong person, that's like way too strong, you know. So like I'm glad Mr.
Yeah.
3 has it, but it's still kind of crazy how good he did with it, you know.
And not to mention, because of Mr. 3, Zoro almost had to cut off both of his legs.
Oh,
Zoro
true.
couldn't break the birthday cake, so Zoro said, "Hey, pass me my sword. I'm gonna cut my legs off so I can beat Mr. 3." It's like, yo, like I don't know, man. Mr. 3 was he was kind of a menace back in the day, and also he introduced one of the first quote plot holes in One Piece where Oda drew him like floating on water or floating on top of water, and then somebody had to ask Oda, "Hey, how did Mr. 3 do that? Doesn't he have a devil fruit?" And then Oda had to say, "Yes, there's actually an invisible piece of wood underneath him." And it's like, oh, okay, okay.
I had never heard that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
it was a part of
feat.
the early SBS back in Alabasta, right after Sanji beats Mr. 3 in the crocodile room, where it's all flooding.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Dude,
Mr. 3 was like left up there, and it's in the anime too, where he's just floating on top of water, and then Oda had to explain that there was just a piece of wood underneath him, and he just didn't see it. I think he gave it like a name too, which is kind of silly.
that is crazy. That's a feat for Mr. 3. Put
Yeah,
that on
it's
the
a
list.
feat.
Like if you make Oda retcon, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah, he's
that's
breaking
wild.
the fourth wall, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that. Um, but I do want to. I know we're talking about Blackbeard, and I had some other stuff I wanted to talk about. So, I did want to
Blackbeard,
get on
Mr.
that.
3, it's like the same person. Come on, come on.
I mean, honestly,
Enter your
you
villain.
know, I mean, you know, Mr. Blackbeard wants the best devil fruits. You know, he's a devil fruit hunter. He better go get Mr. 3s at this point. You know, that should
Oh,
have
yeah,
been on
seriously.
his list. That should have
Come
been the
on.
first one on his list.
Maybe
But
if there's a candle maker that joins his crew, he'll get Mr. 3's fruit for
that
the
would- hey.
candle maker.
that would actually be kind of funny. That would be actually really cool.
Sounds like a Batman villain, the candle maker.
Or, you know, another thing is, and this actually ties into what I was going to say, is, you know, with the seraphim, they're able to duplicate paramecia powers through green blood.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's another layer, because if they get York, then, you know, then it's like, could they go make all sorts of other, you know, green blood, like I don't know if they would put it in the same seraphim, if they'd make new seraphim, whatever, but being able to make new green blood, like being able to duplicate fruits without even killing the original person, because like whenever you kill someone to take the fruit, you're gonna have a target on your back, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that for every instance, like Blackbeard's not going to kill people unless he absolutely, like, or at least important people, unless he needs to, because it's going to draw attention to him and stuff. Which, like, you look at like Dressrosa, like he was going after like Luffy and Ace's fruit, you know what I mean, or Burgess was, but same thing. And it's
Yeah.
like those are top tier ones, like those are worth going. Well, now we know why Luffy's is so important. Back then we didn't really understand, but regardless, like those are great fruits to have, so it makes sense that like maybe they'd burn some bridges getting those, you know what I mean? But for like the wax fruit or one like that, like being able to like, because they could even like take part of Mr. 3's lineage factor, like hair. I don't know if that's how it works, or like I don't know if they need a blood sample.
Get his
Yeah, we don't know.
haircut.
Yeah, we don't know how it works, but being able to like get part of Mr. 3's lineage factor is probably going to be easier than like killing him and not making Cross Guild, you know, mad at them and stuff like that. So there's just a lot of potential is mainly all I'm saying. Like not that Mr. 3 is probably not going to happen, but other fruits could. And the main reason why I wanted to bring this up though is because I think the reason that the Seraphim even exist is because Oda doesn't want to kill these characters off, but Blackbeard needs these powers, right? Because that's Blackbeard's plan is revolving around devil fruit. So you look at Boa. I don't think it's a coincidence that Blackbeard goes after Boa to take her fruit, and on that island is a Seraphim with Boa's powers. You know what I'm saying? Like Oda just doesn't want to kill the real Boa off, but he wants to give Blackbeard Boa's powers. How does he do that? The Seraphim. And
Yes.
And so many of the other fruits are like so strong, like Kuma's fruit, super useful to have. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to paw yourself around. Like people think the paw fruit was used to send poneglyphs around. So having that, being able to they already have the warp fruit, but being able to not really warping, but being able to transport themselves across the planet, super fast with Kuma's powers, that would be useful. Like there's like limitless potential if they get York and can make green blood, basically. And I think that is what's going to happen.
I mean, Blackbeard just has a winning strategy, really. Like,
yep.
What Blackbeard's doing right now, it makes you wonder why other pirates haven't done the same thing, right? Like, Kaido, why didn't you raid Egghead Island? Why weren't you guys collecting devil fruits? Like, they totally could have. Like, they had the power to, but it's like, Blackbeard is, in a way, he's a genius. And I do like the green blood theory a lot. That's kind of where I'm at as well. But instead of the seraphim, I've always seen it as them kidnapping York and them making York manufacture green blood so that they can dupe themselves with it. I don't know how that works. I don't know if it works on humans, but it reminds me of the boys where like in the boys, like there's this superhuman serum where they can inject themselves in it, or they can inject themselves with it. And it's actually green as well, which is kind of funny. And people will get those superhuman powers for like an hour or two. I'm like, it could be the same thing for these devil fruits.
Wow.
Maybe they inject themselves with the green blood. They get a paramecia for an hour, like Boa's devil fruit for 1 hour, Mr. Threes, even if they get that somehow, paw fruit. And I feel like that would be pretty big. I mean, they could dupe their entire army. Like you could have like an entire Blackbeard crew with paramecia devil fruits, kind of like the opposite of what Kaido had with Zoan devil fruits and smiles. Yeah, I think it would be quite nice.
I love that. I'm definitely in line with that because like every major force in One Piece right now has like an army, right? Or like a fleet of some kind. Like the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, super obvious. Like Big Mom had her whole family. She was going after the Elbaf army, the Germa clones, like constantly going for armies. You just talked about Kaido, his Gifter army. In my last video, I talked about Shiki and how literally at the end of chapter 0, we see Shiki like on this island of rare animals. And in the Strong World movie, which plays off of that, he has an army of animals with basically devil fruit powers, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like and a lot of those are Rocks pirates, or I can't remember everyone I just said, but not Luffy obviously, but the rest of them are tied to Rocks in some way. So it's like major pirates just get large groups of people behind them, and now Blackbeard has Pirate Island, but like, are all the pirates gonna just listen to Blackbeard? Like it seems like a lot of them would, because it means the king of it or whatever. But at the same time, we don't really know all the logistics of that. So it's like him getting an army, kind of what you're saying, where like, they like he can give them green blood so they get special devil fruit powers, or even something I thought of is York just either makes more seraphim, or my favorite idea is that they get S Gecko or S Bat, Moria's seraphim, because that has the shadow fruit, and then they can make zombies that have green blood.
Oh,
right?
That would be big. That
would be like, then we're retreading Moria a little bit, with the zombies, but Blackbeard would do it the right way. Like you said, Blackbeard's like smart. You know what I mean? He's actually gonna make a good army, not just like these like decrepit corpses that are just like falling apart, literally. You know what I'm saying? But because when you're a zombie and you have a shadow in you, like for one thing, you get powers from the shadow, like techniques and stuff or whatever from the personality, but also like you don't stop fighting. Like you keep going till your body completely falls apart, like with ores. Right? To like your back is broken and you physically can't move. Like they don't stop. Like they don't feel pain. So
ooh, imagine a zombie with Garp's shadow, since they have a Garp right now. Like that would go kind of nuts. That would go kind of nuts.
Exactly. There's so many opportunities there, and who knows what corpses they could go get, right? Because like Blackbeard's a messed up dude. Imagine he raids Sphinx Island, takes Whitebeard's body or something, and uses that. Which like that might be too much specifically to like, desecrate the grave like that, but something like that, where like Blackbeard would be smart and would go get bodies that would help. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Not just random. Like, I mean, Ryuma's pretty good. Oars was pretty good, but like the rest of them, like the one they put Zoro into, like, come on, like, or the one Sanji was in.
Yeah, they could have done better, huh?
Way better. That's part of why I think Thriller Bark is like a precursor for a lot of what's going to happen at the end. Is like Moria was so bad at what he did, but he could have been so good, like
I kind of blame Dr. Hogback though. Like he's the one who's cooking up these bodies, and some of the, like you said, some of the bodies were just not strong at all. Like Sanji's, Zoro's, And I think there was one more, right? Or was
There
that
were a
it?
few. I mean, I can't remember the rest of
Oh,
them,
I'm
but
thinking of Lola. Never mind.
oh yeah, Lola's.
Lola zombies was it was way stronger.
Yeah, she was like the big like
The big
boar
rhino
thing.
thing. The
Yeah,
boar.
whatever
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, Hogback is part of the problem there, but from Moria's perspective, I feel like Moria's got to be like,
As the
hey,
boss, like fire him.
hey, dude, this product is trash. Like you're the product manager here. Like you can't. Like this is not acceptable. And remember, Hogback was relevant in Egghead because earlier when Vegapunk was talking to Kuma about the 21 grams of soul, he said like a scientist from the West Blue or something brought this up, and Hogback is from the West Blue, right? So that
Yeah.
is probably him. And so tying him to Egghead now, and then all this other stuff we talked about with Blackbeard, York, Green Blood, it's like I can definitely see some of Hogback's like teachings in some way coming back, but improved upon, and the corpses are no longer just stitched together. Like does a corpse have to be a body that was once dead before, or can a corpse be something you make in a lab? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know the answer, but I feel like you could probably put it in almost anything, especially with Awakening. I feel like you
Dang.
could.
I feel like Hogback needs to join the Mads team, the Neo Mads team. I
Ooh.
think he'd be cooking there.
Well, he's still with Moria though, right?
I believe so.
Like I don't
I
think
believe he is still with Moria. But last we saw, Moria was at Hachinosu, but Perona went to go get him. Kobe released him off screen, which we didn't see.
Yep.
So I don't know what's going on with Moria. Some people still believe that Blackbeard has him. I think that he's actually gone now with Perona. Like it's just one of those things that's just completely off screen, so nobody knows for sure. But I would like to imagine that he made it out okay. Kind of like how Sai and Leo made it out of the Reverie. And that kind of surprised me in this chapter. When I saw Leo, I was like, you're kidding me? Like, they killed Mosgard, but they didn't kill Leo? That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm glad you brought up the Leo thing because I said the same thing in the chapter. I'm like, okay, well, this is like I stopped. I was like, guys, this is actually huge that Leo's in this panel because like I thought he'd be locked up, and I was like, I haven't like talked about the theory, but I was thinking in my head like, if Leo did get caught, that's probably going to be like how the Impel Down 2.0 thing happens, where the Straw Hat Grand Fleet break them out. I was like, that would be so cool. But now that Leo's not there, now I feel like Cross Guild probably doing the Impel Down breakout is super likely. But but that was actually like low key important. So I'm glad you brought that up because I also noted that. I was like, damn, you would think Sai and Leo would get reprimanded because like they killed Mjosgard, and it's like, okay, well, if they did that, they probably don't care what Mjosgard said. Like they wouldn't. Like I don't think in the court they're going to be like, oh, well, Mjosgard was a celestial dragon at this time, then he got revoked, but since he was originally, we're not going to get these two in trouble. Like, they don't care. You know what I mean? Like, if you hurt a celestial dragon, it's over. Exactly. Like, they don't care. They don't follow the rules. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's so funny, dude. Like, they just let Sai and Leo commit this crime, and then they're like, hey, see you later. You know what I mean? Like, and I know some people are saying, oh, but they were a part of a kingdom. You know, they were working with a certain kingdom, like, I think it was like, what, Kano Kingdom? And then Leo had he was with Dressrosa. But it's like, even if they're part of the envoy, like, it doesn't matter because Celestial Dragons just outrank them entirely. Like, they're about to kidnap Shirahoshi. They didn't care.
Exactly.
They didn't care.
If it didn't matter, then the Shirahoshi thing would have never even been a thing. Like, they were breaking the rules, right? Like, the Goresei aren't supposed to do that either, but they just don't care, right? So, and that's what they were saying, like the fishmen couldn't react or whatever because like they would get reprimanded like if her brothers tried to help her. That was the whole reason why Sai and Leo jumped in. So obviously their connection to the kingdoms don't matter, as far as like a defense, because like it wouldn't have mattered for the fishmen and they were in the Reverie. So it is a weird thing. I feel like they just quickly escaped. Like that they probably wanted to reprimand him, but they just bolted.
In the best timeline, Sai and Leo defeated all of the Holy Knights except for Garling.
Oh my god! In the future, I can see that. In the future,
that's crazy. That's so crazy to me. The Holy Knights, man.
Didn't you do a video on this recently? Something revolving the
Grand Fleet? I was just laughing at the Grand Fleet. That's all it was. It was me laughing at the Grand Fleet for 40 minutes, saying that I can't imagine them beating the Holy Knights as they are right now. And even then, I do think the Holy Knights could get way better fights than the Grand Fleet. Because I'm like, yo, like, this is the final war, the final saga. Like, when you think about it, we could have so many characters that we once met come back into the story and fight. We could have Katakuri. We could have Kaido's pirates, Big Mom. We could have so many different characters jump back in that I feel like bringing all of the Grand Fleet back for the Holy Knights feels kind of like a waste. Maybe that's just me, but I'm a little bit of a Grand Fleet hater. I'd rather have...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd rather have Neo Mads step in and help us rather than the Grand Fleet.
Wow.
I think they'd be way more hyped. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, though, but...
Well, are you saying that in light of like coming and helping the Straw Hats directly, like coming to where we're at and saving us, or helping us in a more roundabout way, if that makes sense?
I'm speaking purely from a hype perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I agree with the idea that like if the Grand Fleet comes and saves like Luffy in the crew, that's super anticlimactic for me because for one thing, generally speaking, they're supposed to be like his followers, and Luffy didn't even really want them to follow him. So it's just like for that to come back where like they save him, it's just like I don't know. It's just that doesn't feel like what they should do. But even aside from that, the bigger reason for me, the most important reason, is Luffy was like, I'll call you if I need help. Right? He didn't say come help me when I need it or whatever. He's like, I'll call you. And so I do not want them betraying that in any way, where they come without the call. That would make me so mad because it's like, okay, like
we didn't need your help, guys.
Like you aren't even supposed to exist technically. Luffy turned down the sake cups. You know what I mean? Like I think the idea there, and I actually want to do a video about them in like kind of like a different light than we're talking, but like I think it's really cool how whenever they like came into existence, the way it happened is like they wanted to exchange sake cups, and Luffy was like, no, I can't remember exactly what he said, but no, basically, like we're still friends, but we don't have to do this kind of thing is basically what he said. Like, we're like, well, if you need help, let us know. If I need help, I'll call you. Like that's basically all they said. But I think the cool like between the lines thing there is like the way that he said it. The fleet were like, okay, well, if you're basically we're free to do what we want then, and we want to follow you, so we're going to do it anyway. Like that was kind of the idea. And so I just would really dislike if they took that and were like, not only are we going to make this fleet when you really didn't want it, like it's still okay they exist because they're free, they can do what they want, but if they then go and help Luffy when he didn't want it, then it's like, okay, you're doing too much, like that's it's almost annoying at that point. I want them to do something else, like where they go like protecting Shirahoshi's the perfect example. Like I want them picking up the slack around the world where Luffy can't be, basically. That's their best place, I think.
Funny enough, you say that, and it kind of does tie back to Blackbeard, because now that Blackbeard is about to get information on the ancient weapons, I do feel like he is the type of guy to capitalize on it and go to Wano, go to Fishman Island, and those are both Luffy's territory. So maybe the Grand Fleet goes to those islands, and they try to stave off the Blackbeard pirates. I wouldn't want the Grand Fleet to win in that battle. I feel like it would be way more interesting if Blackbeard had the ancient weapons. But, like, I don't know. Maybe that's where the Grand Fleet pops in. Maybe they try to stop Blackbeard and they lose, and then Luffy, gets pretty irate at that because, like you said, if you need help, we'll go to you guys. And if the Grand Fleet gets beaten, if his countries get beaten, I feel like Luffy would finally make a move against Blackbeard.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting point. Like you said, I definitely wouldn't want them to win. You know what I mean? Like if Blackbeard,
Sai and Leo beat Blackbeard, guys.
Like it's one thing. Like if Sai and Leo go and like rescue Momo, and like take Momo from the clutches of Blackbeard. You know what I mean? So he's not like kidnapped. That's okay. That makes sense almost. Like that might be the perfect place. But like, oh man, if I see Sai doing like drill dragon nail against Blackbeard's Conqueror's Gura attacks. I mean, Sai is my favorite Grand Fleet member. Well, it's funny that his name's Sai, like you, but
it's kind of funny actually.
Yeah, but he's been my favorite since Dressrosa. Like he's like by far my favorite. But even with that being said, if I swear to God, if I see any throwing of hands or feet between the two,
oh my God, Cavendish beat Shiryu of the Rain, guys!
Oh my God,
that'd be horrible.
Like Hakuba, like
yeah.
Like Shiryu wasn't ready for Hakuba. It's like, dude, I mean, Robin, Robin's powers are perfect for combating someone like Hakuba because he's so fast and stuff. But still, it's like, look, if Robin's reprimanding Hakuba and Hakuba does anything to Shiryu or any Blackbeard pirate at this point, it's like, no. But functionality, like going, like saving Momo, saving Shirahoshi, saving these different people, maybe even like you said with Fishman Island, if Blackbeard does find out about the ancient weapons from Caribou, which seems kind of likely now, like going down there and protecting Shirahoshi again, like all that I think makes perfect sense because Luffy can't be everywhere at once, but with 5,600 people or however many it is, he could. So yeah.
Damn, yeah, no, Blackbeard having the ancient weapons, I feel like would put him so ahead of all of the other Yonko. It's kind of ridiculous in a way. I know people always bring up the Blackbeard versus Shanks debate, like who would win in that battle. I feel like Blackbeard has a lot in his bag that we haven't seen yet. So already from that perspective alone, I've been putting Blackbeard above Shanks just because of the unknown factor. We don't know everything about Blackbeard. I mean, same with Shanks, that could be said too, but Blackbeard is even more mysterious in my eyes. And if you give him the ancient weapons on top of that, I just feel like, I wouldn't say he's unbeatable, but he would be the undisputed powerhouse.
Agreed. And that's what Oda's building up for, in my opinion. And so here's the thing is, remember, he scarred Shanks before he even had the darkness fruit, right?
Yeah, he was just a regular guy with Wolverine claws, and that was it. That was it.
And Shanks was like, that's what it seems to be because of the scar. Now, is there maybe some more magic to it? You know, I am doing a video on this soon, but it's just interesting that like he's only gotten more powerful, but we know, even going back to, we don't know how far, or maybe we do know how long ago it was when he scarred Shanks. I don't know if we know the date or not, but either way, that was like long before he, was him, So the fact he was able to do that, we know he's got some kind of special sauce, you know what I mean, that we haven't seen yet, because we have not seen him throw hands to that degree before where he's scarring people without using his powers, right?
Yep.
We haven't seen that. But then he has the darkness fruit, and then he has now the Gura Gura, and now maybe he's getting a whole team of seraphim or whatever from York. And like you said, maybe he's getting the ancient weapons now. It's like and I love it because Oda needs to build this villain to be almost unbeatable. Like he has to set that up. Because Blackbeard's probably also going to be clashing with like the government, like Emu, or trying to take someone's spot or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like they said they want the world. So it's like Blackbeard needs that kind of stuff where like Luffy, by having plot armor and gear 5th, it's like that's kind of already enough for Luffy to a degree.
And
you know
friends.
What I mean? Like,
he has friends too.
Yeah, the friends also. Yeah. Like all those things combined, it's like that for Luffy, that he's got to get better. Like they're gonna have to make improvements, obviously. But like for Luffy, that's always Oda's gonna find a way to make it work for Luffy. But by making the villain that daunting, it's so smart. And so yeah, and I do think that's where the cover page is gonna go.
Dude. Oh man, the cover pages. I'm so excited. Before we touch on that a little bit, straight up for Blackbeard, one thing I want to say too is because I always get one or two of these comments every time we talk about Blackbeard and Shanks and all that stuff, but. Mm-hmm. Shanks said it himself that he wasn't holding back, or he said that he was on guard. Like Blackbeard didn't catch him like with a dirty trick or anything like that. Like Blackbeard legitimately scarred Shanks. So much so that he probably went to the world government and told them keep an eye out on Blackbeard. It's like, watch out for this one pirate.
That's how the Goresei know about Blackbeard's lineage, is Shanks in that line. Like, I need to talk about a certain pirate. He told them the truth about Blackbeard's past and stuff. So that's how Saturn told Devin, I know,
I know he's special.
And that's what I tell people too, man. I'm like, look, like Oda would not add that little line of, Shanks says like, I wasn't caught off guard. Oda put that there specifically because he knew we would think he just caught him off guard, right? That would be I would have assumed that also, but that's just the purpose of that line even existing. And then, like you said, Shanks, like the fact that Shanks was even at Whitebeard or going and talking to the Goresei about this guy, that should tell you right there that Shanks was taking him even more seriously than that line implies, right? Because if you're going to a Yonko, if you're going to the Goresei to talk about a pirate, because Shanks could go kill him himself, right? Or he should be able to if Blackbeard isn't that strong. That's at least would be my assumption. But obviously, there's some reason he can't do that, and so.
Man, okay, so I loved your Lafitte theory about how he's up there stealing York and the Seraphim, but my Lafitte theory is that this entire time, Lafitte has been tailing Shanks. Because we saw Shanks at Wano, And then, they're like, hey, like, we thought that Blackbeard would show up to Wano. He didn't. And then we go over to Elbaf, and then, Shanks is still looking at the Blackbeard posters, trying to check up to see if there's any new leads on Blackbeard. And I feel like the reason why Blackbeard has been able to dodge Shanks all these years, because like you said, Shanks should be able to fight Blackbeard, or at least want to run through him if he can. But they've just always been missing these matchups. Minus Marineford, they've just never met after that. And I think the reason why is because Lafitte has been spying on Shanks. And whenever Shanks makes a move, Blackbeard has been able to move away from Shanks. That is my Lafitte theory.
I love that. I love that in general. Like, I'm actually totally with that. But I guess in light of maybe like that being the only reason Shanks hasn't gone after him, part of that problem is like, Blackbeard's on Pirate Island. Like, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So it's like Shanks could have just pulled up. Yeah, like Shanks could have just pulled up, but like for instance, the Wano thing, I 100% could believe that like Lafitte was like, hey, Teach, Shanks is coming. This isn't the time. And I think that would be really cool just from a storytelling perspective, because, well, like it just helps everything make sense, which like Oda always does that. He fills in the blanks in the end. But also, like, having, like, basically, if Blackbeard did go, then the crew would be cooked. And that, so like, it's good that Shanks went, because I don't know if they would have been ready to take on a full Blackbeard crew when they're still recovering and stuff, right? But then also on top of that, it's just kind of like the whole, like, we should expect Blackbeard to be involved in these places. Like Blackbeard's a smart planner guy. Like, Pluton's in Wano. Kaido's in Wano for a reason. We don't know what the reason was. Remember, Kaido just said, "I'm here because it's Wano." So basically, Blackbeard should be involved. But, being able to, like, tell us that he tried to but couldn't, that's just, like, it makes Blackbeard feel as, like, threatening or, as masterful as he should be. So I'm actually totally with that. That's a lot. That makes a lot of sense. I like Lafitte being involved.
Yeah, Lafitte is such a malleable character. You can kind of put him anywhere. He can fit really any narrative, just because he's a stealthy guy, unknown devil fruit. He's just around, man. And if he has a devil fruit, too, if it's a Zoan, he's going to be one of the legendary 6 flying Zoans that Oda talked about back in Alabasta. That's so funny.
God. And I haven't looked, but obviously there's way more than that many that can fly, but have we had more than 5 bird fruits yet? Like,
I
bird
don't
models?
think so.
Because, like, I feel like that's something Oda could do, where he gives us 5 bird types, and then he's like, that's what I meant. There was just 5 bird fruits, not, or was 6, whatever the number was.
Yeah, I think he said only 6 Zoan fruits can actually fly in the world, which kind of silly. It was so early into One Piece that, he couldn't help but throw out that number. But I wonder if he thinks about that number every now and then, He's like, oh, like, I want to do a bird, but I can't make them fly. Like, Morgan's is a good example. Morgan's has the bird fruit model Albatross, but Oda specifically said that he cannot fly. So it's like, all right.
But what's funny is albatrosses are, like, great at flying.
Yeah, they are.
They have like the longest glide, I think, or whatever. Like they can fly. Cause I know there's a difference between,
it's like, a Zelda parachute,
but they have like the longest, like, distance coverage of, like, any bird on a glide or something like that, I think.
Maybe Morgan's had his wings snipped. He was circumcised at birth.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the hidden Morgan's lore. Here we go.
And also, speaking about Lafitte, I just want to touch on this real quick. You were talking about how, like, I can't remember, you used a great word, I just can't remember what it was, but he's like there's so many theories you could make about him, right? There's like, he's such a mysterious guy. And I just want to shout out Hidden Islands theory. I don't know if you've heard about this, but he had a Lafitte theory, which basically that Lafitte was involved even at God Valley, because Lafitte's like, basically the Lafitte in real life, there was like he had like multiple aliases, like he changed his identity.
Yeah.
And so, even I don't necessarily agree with the entire point, because I have my own theory on it. So, I got to side with my own theory.
Yeah, you gotta hold to your guns.
Yeah, but his theory was really good, and it's just really interesting. Like, even if you don't agree with the God Valley aspect of it, it's still so worth watching, because, like, the breakdown of the real Lafitte and, like, the canon information we have on the One Piece Lafitte, like, it's a great video on that topic in general, because Lafitte is like like he used to be a sheriff or something, or he's called the Demon Sheriff. He used to be like
Yeah.
a cop back in the day, but was like violent and lost his job. And I don't know I can't remember all the details, but like he's so interesting and he's always hidden. And when you get to whenever we met the Blackbeard crew in Jaya, they were like, "We're meeting Lafitte here, right?" Like he wasn't even there. Like he's already out. Like right when we meet the crew, he's already doing his own thing.
He's like the Blackbeard's crew version of Vergo. He's just always working undercover, like standalone. It's like, damn, dude, where is this guy?
That's a really good comparison, actually.
Yeah, I mean, and the scariest part is like we don't know his devil fruit, man. Like Oda could have given it to us a long time ago, but we just never got it. He's the last Blackbeard pirate whose devil fruit is going to be revealed.
And there is definitely a good reason for it. Like whatever his fruit is going to be super important. Like, I mean, the hypnotism part, right? Like we know it's a zone, or it should be a zone because we saw the bird wings, right?
Yeah.
The one time. But he can hypnotize people, which, like there are stories of like sirens and other types of mythology where birds can or bird-like people can hypnotize other people, but also we've seen hypnotism in One Piece through just Django, right? It's like he ate like a mushroom or something and started doing it. So it's like we have no idea really where that's going to go. And so Oda's cooking with whatever it is.
Are you on the boat that he's a siren then, if you had to pick one?
Something like that. Like I don't know if it would be like the siren fruit or like Tori no Mi model siren. I don't know if it would be that, but it's what Oda's probably going to do, because he does do this sort of thing all the time, is he's going to pick some creature of some kind, but he's just going to give him siren powers. You know what I'm saying? Like he's going to make it a real
just
being.
give him everything.
Yeah. Like he's not going to overthink it. Like it's not going to be like, not that you or anyone has insinuated this, but like it's not going to be like a god fruit or like some absurdly special thing, but it's not going to be super game breaking, but it's going to be really interesting. Like it is going to be a bird fruit, I think, like a zone, but is it going to be, it's probably going to be mythical, but is it going to be, absurdly game breaking? It's probably just like tactical, if that makes sense. Right?
Yeah.
Like he's not going to be strong with it, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's not like the Galactus model.
Yeah, it's strictly for his infiltration purposes, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like that's what it helps him with. So it's probably going to be, I hope it's just like a pigeon fruit, honestly, but it's like a mythical pigeon, because like you think about like Hattori, which like is he a pigeon or like a dove? I can't remember. He's like
I think he's a pigeon.
I think he's a pigeon, but he's like a special kind that, I can't remember. But like, because I know the Hattori is Lafitte theories, everyone loves that. Even if that's not true, him
I
being
hate that
like
theory so much. I love Hattori. Don't turn him into Lafitte, please.
Yeah, like
Oda, don't do it.
Now, could Hattori be hypnotized by Lafitte? So Hattori's been sending Lafitte messages because he's also the same type of bird. Like something like that would be kind of cool, right? Like
yeah,
but they can't be the same person. Like it would almost like require retconning at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I know Oda loves to get goofy with some of his zones too. Like we saw that firsthand at Wano, right? Because Sasuke was like, "Hey, like I'm a Triceratops, but I can also fly." It's like, "Oh, cool, cool, awesome,
yes.
awesome."
That is basically what I meant to say earlier. That's like the perfect example. Like Oda loves to just pick an animal, but then they can do stuff that just is out of the, like, not the animal
not in
can't
the books.
Do. Exactly. Like he always does that. So he's probably just gonna pick like a pigeon fruit, but for one reason or another, he's just gonna be hypnotizing people.
Wasn't that also part of Queen's devil fruit too, where Queen could shoot his neck out, and he said that's what brachiosauruses can do? Just something ludicrous.
Exactly. Like they're actually like eels. Like that's like he's like a snake type thing.
Yeah.
Like he's turned like a boa constrictor all of a sudden. Like that's not real.
Maybe
King.
Oda knows something we don't.
King with the slingshot, like pulling his head back and then it snaps
forward.
Like that.
All of them.
This is how they hunted the prey. Like, okay. Oh yeah. Oh, I believe that.
I'm very keen on the idea that the reason why that's possible it is because Oda's a goofy guy, but I think it's also due to the fact that their imagination lets them run wild with those devil fruits.
Yeah.
Because one key distinction between the Beast Pirates and their abilities is that Page 1 and Ulti, they didn't have any weird abilities like that. Mm-hmm. And the distinction here is that for Page 1 and Ulti, we had a cover page, or I think it was an SBS actually, where we saw Page 1 and Ulti reading a book about dinosaurs when they were kids. And I think the reason why their abilities are more grounded in reality is because they have that information. Their knowledge is kind of capped right there. Whereas the other ancient Zoans on Kaido's crew, they don't know anything about their devil fruits. So they're like, oh, I think they can do this, right? Like, yeah, they can spin their necks. I think it's all imagination based. And it kind of goes back to what Vegapunk said. And even it could even relate to Bonnie's devil fruit, where when she couldn't imagine a reality where Nika was alive, she couldn't tap into her Nika powers anymore, or they weren't as strong. I think it's the exact same thing for some of these other Zoan devil fruits as well. And maybe even every devil fruit out there, that it's just all about your imagination. Like, my theory with the Goresei is that these guys, as dumb as it sounds, it's like Shark Boy and Lava Girl. I think all of the Goresei are daydreamers.
Oh yeah, I like that for sure. Like,
they're dreaming with their eyes open, and that's how they're regenerating. That's how they're fighting. That's how they have these weird forms. Like Saturn, even, like, we know that mythological Zoans have a strange property about them where they can utilize different abilities. They have paramecia type attacks. Kaido has fire. Luffy has rubber. All that good stuff. Saturn, we saw him use venom, but we also saw him with the rubbery body. And it's like, okay, like, now we're getting crazy. Like, I think it's his imagination. I think he thinks he can do that, and that's why he can.
Yeah, I like that, especially tying to the Goresei, because this is somewhat of a spoiler for a future video, but I don't care. I've mentioned it on stream before, but I think that, like you're talking about with like this, like the Goresei being daydreamers, and they're kind of dreaming maybe their forms, being where they are or whatever it is. Like, it's just like they're imagining it almost. Well, I think Blackbeard might be the same thing, and that's why he doesn't sleep, right? Like,
yeah,
I think he might be able to do the same exact thing, but maybe if he sleeps, it's like he gets controlled, or he can't control it the same way the Goresei do. And so when we talk about Shanks, I think that could be the answer, is like Blackbeard fell asleep against Shanks, so he unleashed his true power or whatever.
I like
and Shanks
that.
is like, God damn, okay. Like, I wasn't ready for that. And then whenever you go back to Shanks talking to the Goresei, it's like super ironic then, right? It gets even more ironic where, like, Shanks is like, I gotta go tell these people about it. And these people are like almost the same people as Blackbeard. Like, they have the same powers as Blackbeard. Like, I think that would be so cool. And it's still up in the air, but whenever we look at the Goresei and, like, I mean, either their forms or like their circles or whatever, like, it's like, what are they made of? Like, is it like shadows? Are they physically there? Because, like, the way they regenerate, it looks like they're like not real almost.
Yeah,
right?
it looks like you're hitting gas, like Caesar's gas clouds.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. And so my running theory right now is that the Goresei and, like, their circles, the black lightning, all that stuff, they might just be made of darkness, like how Blackbeard controls darkness. They might just be made of it as opposed to controlling it, like where Blackbeard is. And that might be why Blackbeard was targeting that fruit, because it lets him combat these people who are made of that substance or something like that.
I like that.
Because we don't really, because, like, darkness is the absence of light, right? And, like, light, like sun god Nika, that's such an important thing. That's why darkness versus sun god Nika, that's such an important thing for them. And also we learned in Egghead with holograms, like, it's like what's real and what's not. Like, that debate is as old as time. That's like pretty much how I start my next video, actually, is like talking about that.
just that line right there.
Yeah, I honestly might. Yeah, it does. It's one of my favorites, and this is like the time to unleash it, because it's like with the holograms, you think about the holograms in Egghead, like, obviously they're made of light, and then so, like, the conversion to darkness, the opposites. Like, if you have like a complete empty space of light, it's like, is that like an anti-hologram? Like, it's kind of like the same thing as a hologram, just the opposite, and that might be what the Goresei are. And you think about the very beginning of Egghead, and this also ties to the ancient robot a little bit. Remember at the very start, we saw a space monster hologram fight a giant robot hologram. It was like one of the first things we saw. And you think about space monsters and robots. Well, we have the ancient robot on Egghead, so that's that parallel, obviously. Now, who's going to be the parallel for a space monster? How about the monsters who are named after planets, right? So the robot is going to come over and start fighting them. And that space monster was a hologram, and that's where we got that debate on what's real. And so when the robot comes out, and maybe the robot actually does damage, like permanent damage to the Goresei, then we're all going to be like, okay, what is even happening? Like, are they real or not? What is this robot made of? How, like, we'll have no idea what's going on. So That's what I think is going to happen. Is like the robot's going to come out, is going to do something serious where the Goresei are like, oh, this thing, and then we're going to be like left like scratching our heads, like, bro,
Yeah, just trying to
how?
piece the puzzle together.
Like, why did that punch hurt them? Like, because like you think about the photonic gloves earlier in the arc, that was the only thing that could hurt the space monster. Well, what if the Iron Giant thing just has those built in, and that's what hurts the Goresei?
Yeah, like it's a special type of sea stone, even.
Yes.
Just weird material, runes. I have no idea, but I do think that our best chance at not beating the Goresei, but staving them off on this island would be the ancient robot.
Mm-hmm.
I put a lot of stock on that robot right now. But to finish off the Blackbeard thoughts and to finish off the video, do you have like any final theories you want to share with us about Blackbeard, or any like weird hot takes? Because I have my own. I'll start this one. I think Blackbeard in his special tribe or lineage, I think this guy has a face on the back of his back.
Ooh.
Or on his back, on the back of his back.
That's repetitive. That's fire. That's a
It's like a Japanese yokai.
Like a boa connection too, right? A little bit, because remember boa had the scar, or like the tattoo, the branding on her back.
Yeah.
And they treated it like, what was it like? They said it was like the eye of Medusa or whatever, right? Like, isn't that like what they said? Like nobody could look at it or whatever. Like whenever
they were turned to stone.
Exactly, but that's not the truth, right? But then maybe Blackbeard went after Boa, remember, like just a little bit ago, wanted her fruit for some reason. That's a great idea, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely my shot in the dark. I have nothing to back it up. I have no reason for saying it. It's just one of those ideas where it's like, okay, if I wanted to be known for some wacky theory, I think it would be Blackbeard having a second face.
There's got to be a funny name for that theory. Like I was just thinking, like Backbeard or like
Backbeard. It's such a good one.
Yeah, I was trying to think like backface Blackbeard. Like I don't know, but Backbeard might just be the best because it's just remove one letter. You know.
Yeah, because I remember I read a couple of manga where they include yokai or demons, and there's always like this one weird character that has a face on their back. And the face like takes control when they fall asleep. And I was like, hey, maybe that's the reason why Blackbeard can't sleep. He has a second face. He has a second brain. And that could be the reason why Blackbeard was able to eat a second devil fruit and why he put a tarp over it, because he didn't want to reveal that he has a face back there. Which I know sounds goofy. It's not like a plausible theory. There's nothing to like back it up, but I think it's cool. I think it'd be a fascinating twist.
I think that the boa stuff I said is the connection you need. I think if you said that, people would feel it's legit. Like that. I'm telling you. I mean, the first second you said it, I got it right away. I knew like that's a good theory, man. But yeah, there's a lot of funny names you could make for that, man. Like that, you should make a video. The
thumbnail would be funny too.
Oh yeah, people would click the hell out of that if you just put Blackbeard with like his back showing and there's another Blackbeard face.
There's like an ugly face just behind him. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
And it's eating a devil fruit or something?
Ooh, it's eating the Gura because we know what it looks like, right? It was released in One Piece magazine. So, oh man, that would actually
that would explain the double damage too.
Isn't that just like the... Well, like,
yami.
Yeah, that's what he said, because he sucks everything in. But maybe that is... Like, what if he has two people, so he takes double the damage, and that's actually
two souls.
That would actually be kind of cool.
There's something there, man. So yeah, what do you got for Blackbeard?
So I have two. One's a quick one because it's about his plan, not him specifically. And then I have one about him, but about his plan. I don't think they got Pudding to read the poneglyphs. I think Blackbeard can already do that. Or if he can't do it himself, he already knows how he's going to. And because here's the thing, Pudding hasn't awoken her third eye yet, and so maybe Blackbeard can force her to. They can do. Like maybe the hypnotism that Lafitte does can do it, all that kind of stuff, like maybe. But remember, he's a devil fruit hunter, and her devil fruit is so useful. And then you come to the question of like, well, couldn't he just like kill her and take the fruit and then give it to somebody that works for him and then blah, blah, blah. Well, all of his crew have fruits now, for one thing. And maybe like a rando on Pirate Island could do that, but then it's like I don't know, is it worth it to do that? Because like these guys are like strong pirates, some of them, and like it's a little bit wishy-washy, I guess, when you get out of the main crew is mainly the reason. And also on top of that, there could be a layer where maybe she needs her to awaken the fruit, not awaken her third eye, but awaken the devil fruit, and it's a lot easier if it's someone who already has used it for a long time, right?
Okay.
And remember, they have Garp, so they could find out about God Valley. If they get Punk Records, that's a brain. They could access it for information. There's like so many angles we're having. Like maybe they use her to access someone's brain. Like what if they have like Nico Olvia? Like what if she didn't die or something?
Yeah.
Or like I don't know, somebody who can read the poneglyphs. They just access their brain using Pudding's powers, and then they can read it. Like there's like a lot of like because with the third eye, it's specifically all they want to do is read the poneglyphs. If it's her fruit, there's like a million options, right? So that's why I think it's going to be that, and it's also a diversion thing. Like we're all going to think it's the third eye, and so and
I'm on the train that it's both. Like there's no reason why you can't use both too. Like just third eye awakening, cool, but like that fruit though, man, that memory fruit is just so good.
It's so good. But I guess I should say the reason why I think Blackbeard himself can already read them is first off, he's never been worried about getting someone who can read the poneglyphs, right? Like maybe now with Pudding, but like you would think if you're trying to like take over the world or be Pirate King or do all this stuff, you would probably be thinking about that for quite a while, I would imagine, right? And he's never brought it up. And so the reason why he's never brought it up, I would think, is because maybe he already has it figured out. And so this ties to like Hindu mythology a little bit, where there's somebody in that mythology named Trisidas that's like a three-headed dude. And normally I don't use mythologies a whole lot in my theories, to be honest. But like Luffy ties to Sun Wukong, Zoro has Ashura, which is like a demon from the same mythology, and then Trisidas is from the same realm of mythology. They're all in the same thing, so it's like hard for me to ignore this one.
Yeah.
And Trisidas is a three-headed dude who can read the scripts called the Vedas. And the Vedas, there's 4 Vedas texts, and it's an ancient language that nobody else can read except for him and maybe like a couple select people. And so Trisidas is like an evil force. He's a three-headed dude, and Blackbeard has a three-headed flag and all that stuff. And Trisidas, like he's an evil dude, and he's trying to read the text for bad reasons, right? And so for Blackbeard, it's like if clearly he ties to it for a lot. There's like other bits and pieces of it too, but for that, it's just, and if Blackbeard just comes out like, oh, I've been able to read him the whole time, it's just that would be like the craziest thing ever. I feel like
I love that
to hear that. But then for him himself, I think the lineage part that they talked about, I don't think that is like familial in the sense of it's simply rocks. Like I don't think Shanks went to the Goresei and was like, hey, this guy is I don't think Blackbeard's the son of Rocks. Like the timing would just be weird because like he was born right before God Valley. But if Rocks had a kid right before God Valley when he was still active, wouldn't the other pirates know about that? And he was like, I think he was 2 at God Valley, so like they would probably honestly remember him, going forward, like other Rocks members. And he was on Whitebeard's crew, and Blackbeard joined when he was a kid. So if Whitebeard's not gonna recognize him, you know what I'm saying? Like that. So that whole
it's like
situation,
a plot hole.
Exactly. And so I don't think it's going to be simply Rocks. Like he's inspired by Rocks or has his will or
it's
whatever.
Like his role model, even.
But with the lineage, I think it's important to bring up this line from Marineford, and I actually brought it up right here because I've been waiting to talk about this.
Oh my god, you had it pulled up ready to go.
I was actually rereading part of Marineford for a separate video, and I read this, and I was like, oh my god, this tells us so much about that lineage thing. I'm going to save it. And so I sent it to my alt account on Discord, and I just went to my alt
just so you never lose it.
Oh, dude.
That's so funny.
I have people that I message, and I literally say like, hey, I had a thought. I just need to put it somewhere, and I'm just going to put it here.
Damn,
and
you're hyping this up.
And I cook a long theory, and then like people answer me in the morning, and I'm like, damn, I'm sorry I sent that novel. I didn't want to forget the thought.
I had to vent it, yeah.
So this page is the same page where Whitebeard basically dies. It's like his right before he says the One Piece is real, right?
Yeah.
And he's talking to Blackbeard, right? And so I'm just gonna read it off, and then I'll say why it's important because it's probably easier that way. So Whitebeard goes, "It's not you. The man Roger's waiting for is definitely not you, Teach. There are those who inherited Roger's will, and one day someone will appear who will inherit Ace's will. As long as that bloodline, in quotes, survives, their flames will never die." And so when you go back to that lineage line from a couple chapters ago about Blackbeard, if you go read the official, they actually say bloodline instead of lineage. And now these specific words aren't that important, right? Like they're pretty much the same thing, lineage and bloodline.
Yeah.
But but the fact that like I read the official and it said bloodline and people were asking me if I thought that meant anything else and I was like not really. And then I read this and they literally put bloodline in quotes. I was like, okay. And he's talking to Blackbeard, right? And I'm like, okay. I'm like trying to connect the dots. I had like a eureka, like Jimmy Neutron brain blast moment. I'm like, okay. So if he has bloodline in quotes there, and we have bloodline for Blackbeard, the reason why it's in quotes here is because it's not really a bloodline. Like it's not direct familial connection. It's will being inherited, right? Because that's what he's saying. Like one day someone will appear who will inherit Ace's will. As long as that bloodline survives, the flames will never die. Well, what I think this means is that lineage part probably is tied to rocks, but not familially. I think I said that right.
No, I got you.
Because Whitebeard's talking about it right here in his like dying moments, like telling Blackbeard, "You're not the one," right? Like there has to be a connection between the two, and so I think it's that Blackbeard. I don't know how, but he does have Rox's will, and Shanks knows that, and that's really important, and the Goresei know that. But it's not that he's related, right? Like he's not blood related, not familial. Like Rox is not his dad. But now, how does that connection work? How does Shanks know that? Like, why is it important? I mean, it's important because he carries his will, obviously, so he's trying to like replicate. But it's like, where does this go? I don't know. But I just think this. I think this proves it's not going to be that he's Rox's kid, because bloodline, like. If Whitebeard used bloodline when talking about not being blood related, that's so key. Because also Whitebeard, his whole thing is not being blood related to his kids, right? Like
that's like the whole thing of One Piece even.
Found family, exactly. Yeah. And so I think Blackbeard is going to be an example of that. Now again for like the third time, I don't know how the connection works. Like
it's weird when you think about it, huh? Because like you said, Rox died. Like how did Blackbeard become such a fan of Rox D. Zebek? Like, did he read Odin's journal? I don't know. And
because remember, like I said, Blackbeard was 2 at God Valley, so that it makes it hard for him to be Rox's kid because Whitebeard should have noticed that. But also, it makes it hard for Rox to influence Blackbeard directly, because even if Rox met Blackbeard before Rox died, Blackbeard was less than 2 years old. Like he's not going to remember any of the lessons. At least he shouldn't. That would be like insane. So I don't know. I hopefully I come up with an idea for this. But I just thought that line was like, okay, so it's not familial. Now on top of that though, I do want to say that. So I think the bloodline / lineage part is about carrying Rox's will. But now, is that to say that teaches bloodline, like actual familial relations, aren't important? I think that's also wrong, because they're like, I think they are important. It's just not what they were talking about, I guess is what I'm getting at. Because like he's able to have 2 devil fruits. How does that happen? Well, we don't know for sure, but I think the Buccaneers could be an answer, because so Kuma, like he has special blood. Like we don't know what it means, but when like multiple times the Buccaneer blood has been mentioned. And even Vegapunk was like, I can't really tell you what's special about it until I do more research. So we still don't know. But my guess is that Kuma's blood is how green blood came into existence. And green blood is a way for people to put devil fruits in their body temporarily, or paramecia specifically. And Blackbeard has multiple devil fruits, and the second one that he got was a paramecia. Does he just have like green blood in his body with the Gura at this point? Like, I don't know how that would have happened, but like, I guess what I'm getting at is that line isn't about his blood lineage, but that's not to say it's not important. Like, I think Buccaneer is on the table. I think Blackbeard even being a third eye member, I feel like wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. So yeah,
he could be any race out there, to be honest. He could even be like a brand new one. Like we don't know, because we just learned that the Goresei have been holding these rabbit hunting competitions where they just straight up eliminate races. So there's a chance that Blackbeard is also another lone survivor, just like Kuma or just like King.
Yeah, and there could be even a chance where Blackbeard is maybe a mix of all the races that the government has tried erasing.
Oh, that would be cool.
Because like, like the Buccaneers, they're like they have like they have like the giant's blood in them, but they're not giants, right? Like they're probably like hybrids of like humans and giants or something like
Yeah.
that. And I think when they say like, oh, the Buccaneers got wiped out or whatever, it's like, okay, did all the Buccaneers get wiped out, or are there people with like a little bit of their lineage factor still around because of how, just population dynamics work?
How
and
they're
stuff?
built.
Yeah, so like, is Blackbeard actually a mix of all the like? Now he's obviously not going to be Lunarian because like we would have already been able to tell, but like, could he be Buccaneer, 3-Eye, and maybe something else that we don't know, and that's why he has the 3 skulls? He's the 3 important races that let him tap into special devil fruit powers. Maybe because we know his body is special. It's like different, and that's why. Like Marco theorized, his weird body is how he got multiple fruit.
Dude,
So,
if I met Marco, dude, I'd be like holding him over a fire, like, yo, what's up with Blackbeard? They're like, give me the answers. That's like one of the things about One Piece. Like, we talked about Luffy and Blackbeard, how Blackbeard is always so strategic. He's always after more knowledge, more power.
Yep.
Luffy's almost the complete opposite. Luffy just wants to have fun, where I'm like, it's great. But there are times where I'm like, Luffy, can you ask him about Blackbeard though? Like, like, can you ask him about the Revenge War? Like, can you ask him about the history? Like, even with Rayleigh, like, I know people aren't going to agree with this, but when we met Rayleigh at Saboti, and then Rayleigh's like, hey, you want me to tell you about the Void Century? Like, hey, do you really want to know? I'd be like, yes, yeah, yo, tell me. I'm all about it. Hey, give me the lore, man. I don't know.
Might save me some trouble,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it's saved me 2 years of pain.
Yeah, and that's and that difference right there between the two is why Blackbeard has been probably my favorite non-Straw Hat since I met him. Pretty much, like I've had him at the top of my top 30s. I've been a huge Blackbeard supporter, which sounds so bad. So bad.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I wear it with pride. I should have wore it, but I even have like a Blackbeard like cloak thing.
Do you really?
I bought it like Anime NYC. It's like a little like you just throw it over. Cloak's not the right word, but it's almost like
the jacket, right?
Yeah, it's like a little jacket thing, and it has Blackbeard's logo on the sleeves, and then the back of it is his whole crew, like staring off into the distance, kind of.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's sick.
Do you play League of Legends at all?
Oh, I have. I will. I don't. I'm so bad at that game, man.
It's a slippery slope. Yeah.
I can never get back on. I like games I'm good at, and I think I've just accepted I'm never going to be good at it. But I played it enough to know some references.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, there's a Japanese artist over on Twitter who only draws Blackbeard pirates. And they did like a group drawing where they have the Blackbeard pirates posed up as the beach or the pool party skins from League of Legends. And it's so great.
That's
they post nothing but Blackbeard content. I'm like, yeah, that's what we need. We need more of that.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we need more of that Blackbeard content, more of that Vasco shot content.
Oh, yeah, Vasco shot. Yeah. People love Vasco shot.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's waiting for Vasco to start his OnlyFans.
Yeah, what a great guy. Can't wait to see the content he puts out there.
Oh, can't wait.
Great devil fruit.
Oh, yeah. And I can't wait to see him like go all out with it, because like all he does is catch it on fire right now, but I'm sure with it being the sake fruit, like the glug glug, but the sake fruit basically. Yeah. There's gonna be some crazy stuff. Like it's not just gonna be fireballs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hopefully that he can do a lot more than that. Like he can make people drunk. He can set an entire island on fire even. Like there's just so much with it.
Yeah, getting people drunk is what I really want. And that's why I used to say that he was gonna fight Brook, because like the Bink Sake connection, fire versus ice. Brook maybe can't get drunk because he doesn't have flesh or blood.
Yeah.
But I actually think that part where he can't get drunk, I actually think that's why he's not going to fight him, because that would make it too easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Nami, because remember, Nami can drink everyone under the table, right? Like
Nami would be a good matchup.
Yeah, and she's also just like a girl, and Vasco's like a creep, so I would like for Nami to put him in his place. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, he deserves it. I think funny matchup would be Jinbei versus Vasco shot, because I'm just imagining Jinbei jumping in water to use some kind of like shoulder throw attack. And then the minute he jumps in the water, he's like, wait, it's all alcohol. Yeah. And then Jinbei just like, he can't do anything. And then Nami saves him or something. I think that'd be pretty cool.
That would be really cool. Cause like Jinbei, like if he dives, because he's breathing the water, right? Like, yeah, that's how fish work. I mean, he's a fish man, not trying to, be mean to Jinbei. Yeah. He's a fish man, but that's how the gills work, I guess. And so, yeah, I actually would really like that, because like he jumps in and it could even be a thing where Vasco turns the water to sake, which like would be maybe like a little OP, but I mean, Aokiji froze the water, and
maybe Vasco awakens even and does it.
Yeah, and that'd be so cool where Jinbei's like, okay, well, I can't be in the water now. Like his strongest thing doesn't work, and maybe he can't even use Fishman karate because like he uses water from like the atmosphere or like around him because there's like water particles. But if it's
Yeah.
all sake particles, then it's different, and so that's pretty interesting. I
I
like
think the
that.
craziest thing we've seen from Jinbei is that he could use tea
Oh
as a part of his
yeah,
fisherman karate. He did that at Big Mom's wedding. Because I
yeah.
remember that was so strange. It was like a waterbender out of Avatar. He was just like, whew. And I was like, what
And
the hell?
that was
All out
so
of a
cool.
teacup? It was. It was.
Yeah, no, Jinbei, he really showed out in Whole Cake. That he's a big reason why that's my favorite arc, actually.
Oh. Man,
Yeah,
I liked it just for putting in Sanji. I think they had some great moments. I know people dog Sanji
yeah.
for it, but it's like, no, dude, it's some good character development. It's good.
Oh yeah, Oda killed that. The whole
Yeah,
pudding.
he
Oh,
destroyed it.
absolutely. Oh, it was phenomenal, and I love how like the like her developing into not liking Sanji to actually liking him, but she has like the multiple personality thing with the third eye and stuff like that. I love that where she's like fighting herself over whether she likes him or not, and then the
Yeah.
memory, like how she took his memory at the end, so he doesn't know, like all that. I thought that was beautiful, like phenomenal from Oda.
I cannot wait until Sanji finds out that Pudding's been kidnapped.
Oh, he's gonna be so mad.
Dude, but between Pudding, Garp, Shirahoshi, Wano, like honestly, there's like no reason not to fight Blackbeard right now.
And I've actually been thinking lately that Sanji is gonna fight Kuzan if Kuzan stays. Basically, with
Yeah.
the crew doesn't betray, then I think Sanji is actually going to end up fighting him, and that Pudding connection is actually like a little bit of a missing piece that I needed because Aokiji obviously went and stole Pudding, like him and Augur, right?
Yeah.
So if Sanji hears that Pudding got stolen and by Kuzan, then Sanji could be like, "All right, man, like it's time to go." Like
Yep. Fire and ice.
let's throw feet right now. Like it's time. So that's actually
Sanji
great.
versus Kuzan. I love that matchup, but not even a problem. But you know how like Luffy always fights the first strongest, Zoro second, Sanji third.
Yeah,
I think the hard part would just be Zoro's matchup for me at that point because I feel like Zoro always, whether people agree or disagree, like Zoro always squeezes out and he always looks a little bit better than Sanji. That's just how it is narratively.
yeah.
Oda's done that time and time again. So it's like, dang, are we gonna scale Shiryu beyond that, or is Shiryu always that guy? Like I don't know.
We should. I actually 2 videos ago I did a Zoro versus Shiryu video, and I broke down
Yeah, how'd it
basically
go?
like it did pretty well. And one of the main points that I talked about like right at the beginning because I knew people were gonna kind of say what you're saying is like there was like that cover page with all the number twos of the crew and
Yeah,
Shiryu was on there. Well, Zoro, where Oda said in an SBS that those were all the second strongest, not just the
yeah,
number twos or vice captains or first mates. It was the second strongest of every crew specifically. And now you might say, oh, well, we didn't know for sure if Kuzan was the 10th captain at that point because that came out like, I think it was actually like 6 months or something before the Kuzan reveal. It was pretty close. It was like at the end of, maybe not, maybe like a year. It was pretty close
it
though.
was during
Um,
Wano-ish. Yeah, like
it was
near
at the
the
very
end.
end of, it was at the very end of Wano. It was late in the raid, and then the Kuzan reveal was like chapter 1080. So that's like a year of time between the two.
Yeah,
So it's not that much. But either way though, Kuzan was a part of the crew by then. Like we knew Aokiji was or Kuzan, whatever. I always say both names. Like I use
yeah,
them
it
interchangeably
works. It works.
because he's not Aokiji anymore. But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Um, but like we knew he was working with Blackbeard though. We just didn't know he was officially the 10th captain. So maybe you can go neither here nor there on it. But I feel like it's pretty clear that like Shiryu is meant to emulate the second strongest, and he is going to fight Zoro. He's a swordsman. Zoro can't find his way around places when he can see, and Shiryu is invisible. So like that's like for Zoro specifically, that's a really tough fight because he's gonna have to find Shiryu, which like that's a challenge for him.
yeah,
So because even Queen and Sanji couldn't necessarily detect where each other were when they were invisible. Now Sanji did when he did like the beef burst or however you say that word because it's like
yeah.
BOEUF whatever. Like he found him when he was invisible then, but earlier when Sanji was like flustered, he didn't notice Queen hit Osome, right? So it's hard to detect invisible people already, and then for Zoro who struggles to you know navigate in
See left
general.
from right.
Yeah, so I think that would be a really good fight for him specifically, and Shiryu is also like Magellan level, which is really strong. So
Yeah. Okay.
So who knows?
You're giving me some hope in Shiryu now. You've convinced me.
Good.
And also, if he awakens, I think it could be pretty cool because it could be like Bleach. And I don't know if you watch Bleach, but it would be like Tosin, like the blind swordsman.
I haven't watched it.
Like episode, I think 30. He has this ability where Tosin himself is blind, but what he does is he can project his blindness onto other people, so they can't hear anything, they can't see anything. They're just fighting in like emptiness. And I was like, it would be cool if Zoro was put in that situation.
Yep.
And he's able to still like deduce where Shiryu would be just based on swordsmanship alone. Like no hockey, no nothing, just pure swordsmanship. Like I think he's gonna swing his blade here, I'm gonna block it here. I think that would be pretty sick. And hey, I think that could put him above Kuzan. But I'm gonna need to see some hockey. All I gotta say, I want to see some hockey from these bozos.
For sure.
I love the Blackbeard Pirates, but man.
And I will say for Zoro, like with the like him being like with the connection you made to Bleach, well, it could be like the breath of all things. Like let's say Shiryu awakens, and I said this in my video, by the way. So like if you like it, go ahead and go check it out because there's like so many different ideas in there. Because like Shiryu's awakening is absurd. I also think he's gonna get a diamond sword, but that's a whole other thing. But for the awakening, yeah, because like Paramecia awakening spread to your environment, so he could turn a building into an invisible building. It would still be there. So like not only is Zoro trying to navigate, like Zoro needs to leave the building, but he's just running into walls constantly because like he can't see the walls. It's like an invisible labyrinth type deal for Zoro.
Yeah.
So I think he would need to go back to the breath of all things, which like is from the Mr. One fight, which like is that observation hockey? Is it something else? Like that's maybe a debate for another time. But either way, obviously Zoro used it before, and he's able to like detect where things aren't, right? That's like the idea behind it. Like you have like I knew excuse me, I knew where the rocks weren't gonna fall. I knew where my swords were without even looking, blah blah blah. And so it's like, well, taking that to the next level against an invisible guy, it'd be the same thing. Like if I use breath of all things, if they're invisible, it doesn't really matter because they're still there. I don't need to see them, and then on top of that too, Shiryu is Shiryu of the rain. And so I think it'd be really cool if they fight in the rain, and the rain is like a nerf, because then he can see where the raindrops are hitting. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's a lot of cool
I would love that.
Fight,
or maybe like it's raining, but Shiryu's devil fruit or awakening is so broken that the rain just bypasses him. You can't even tell.
Oh, that would be also really
like
crazy.
It would kind of be like I'm using all these different anime references. It'd be like Obito from Naruto.
Somebody's made that connection before, but I don't. I've seen Naruto, but refresh me on this example.
So Obito, he's like an actual person, and you can hit him, but he has an ability where he can teleport his body into a different dimension where you can't, like you phase through him essentially. You phase right through him. Unless you like catch him super off guard. And I was like, it could be the same thing for Shiryu, where Zoro has to like perfectly time his attacks. Or maybe like he uses that to his advantage to like confuse Zoro even. And I don't know. I feel like if there was a time for Zoro to open that third eye, it would be right then and there during that fight. Or I say third eye, his normal eye that he has closed now. Yeah.
No, I love that you brought that up. I said that said that same thing in my video where I was like, if there was ever a time for that eye to matter, it might be against the invisible guy. I don't know what it is. I'm just saying, if it is going to matter, if it doesn't matter in this fight, it's not going to matter. That's basically the message. Like it has to. And one thing I wanted to mention about all of this, kind of connecting it all, is Fujitora. Yeah, so for Fujitora, he's blind, and so he's always like using observation hockey to see his enemies and buildings and get around. You know what I'm saying? And so I think Zoro, because he emulates Fujitora in quite a few ways, honestly. Like, I mean, he's already half blind. Like, he has one scar over his eye, where Fujitora has two. Fujitora seems like a Wano-esque samurai type guy. He has like the clogs and the robes and all that. Now, we don't know exactly if there's a connection, but and then also, like, they both like gambling. Like, when Zoro went to Wano, he's gambling when he's off by himself. So there's all sorts of like little connections between the two. And so I think for Zoro to kind of tap into that and kind of act like Fujitora, we're like, well, maybe instead of opening the other eye, he just closes the good eye, and he's like, screw it, I'm better off without looking at all. Like I'm confusing myself by looking. Like, let me just be like more pure about it and just like think.
Yeah.
So I think there's like definitely I don't know if it's gonna be he opens the other eye or he closes the good eye. Like there's gonna be something there where he ties to Fujitora and like he his observation hockey improves basically like Fujitora's is.
My theory on how Zoro lost his eye too, or not lost his eye, but how he got the scar is I think he did it himself. I think that when he was training with Mihawk probably made fun of him, saying, "Hey, you see too much. You're taking too much information in." So what Zoro does is he cuts his eye, or like he slices it. He's like, "Okay, I guess I'll just cut my vision in half or whatever. I'll lessen my field." Just something like that. I see that as like an aspect of training more than a battle scar. Because I know people are saying, "Oh, did the baboon scar him? Who scarred Zoro during the time skip?" I'm like, no, I think he did it himself. Yeah, if it's a baboon, man, that would be bad.
If he was able to beat all those baboons, like to get to Mihawk's door, you know what I'm saying? Like, then there's no way that after the training it happened. You know what I'm saying? Like during the training. But I like what you just said. Like like I kind of said with Zoro, like closing the other eye because he's confusing himself with Shiryu and stuff. Maybe you're right. Like it could be that it's not that we see the eye open, but we learn why Zoro cut it, and it's because he was like confusing himself. Like he's seeing too much. He's like overthinking almost because like he's not good at navigating and stuff as it is. So it's like, Zoro, you might be better off not thinking about where things are. You might be better off just thinking about cutting. You know what I'm saying? So I really like that. I've never thought about it that way, but that's probably my go-to idea for that now. I never thought about it. That's great.
In a weird way too, it kind of ties back to what we said in the beginning with Zoro like almost cutting his legs off during the Mr. 3 fight. Like Zoro doesn't mind wounding himself for like if he came out on top in the end. Even going back to the Tashigi thing, like he threw the sword up in the air. He's like, "Oh, let me test my luck then," and he put his arm out. It's like Zoro, he puts himself in harm's way often. So Zoro cutting his own eye, I could see that.
Even like against Mihawk, right? Like just
he just like
T-pose.
Yeah, he T-posed.
Like scars on a back or a swordsman's shame. Like he just took it. So that's actually such a good point. You're probably right at this point. Now that you've even laid out that evidence, you're probably right. That's a really good thought. He did it to himself to like
ZKH. Zoro killed himself. Or just something like that.
ZKE. Zoro killed his eye, or something.
Zoro killed his eye.
That's phenomenal, man. I can't believe that's. You should do I don't know if you can make a whole video on just that idea. But you should.
I'll span it out 8 minutes. I'll put like a sponsor in the middle. I'll talk about who Zoro is in the beginning. Zoro is a swordsman from One Piece. Let me tell you guys about him a little bit. That'll be good.
That actually, I mean, hey, people love Zoro videos.
They do. They do
for good reason. I mean, but yeah, that's great. I don't know, man. I can't wait until we learn more about Zoro's training because I think it's kind of ridiculous that like we don't know anything. I mean, we know he got hockey and what all what he improved on, but it's like, man, he's with his idol for 2 years.
Yeah, it's like hanging out with Superman. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's almost like if Luffy was with Shanks for 2 years. Like almost. It's different because like they have a connection from before, but like it's idols in that way. You know what I mean? Like if Luffy was learning from Shanks for 2 years.
Let's say Luffy was learning from Gold Roger.
Yeah, like because like that's basically what happened with Rayleigh. You know what I mean? That's almost it. And we saw tons of the Rayleigh training. We dip to that all the time.
Yeah, every single arc where Luffy needs a power up, he thinks about Rayleigh and he's like, "Oh, I can use Haki this way? Cool."
Yep.
Really try to tell me about that.
Yep. There are going to be people out there that can see the future. What are you going to do? Well, it depends on their personality, which like is one of my favorite, like maybe not my favorite lines from Whole Cake, but it's definitely one that lives in my mind rent free. Like when I think of Whole Cake, because like that's like this such cool, like, I don't know if foreshadowing is the right word because it's like reverse foreshadowing because he's like,
when
we're in the moment, then he shows
personality.
us the flashback. Yeah, exactly. Like Luffy talking about the personality part. That's like, I don't know, like that's so him, and so I want to see from Zoro what things he differed from Mihawk on, like Mihawk's like, well, when you're in swords battle, these couple rules apply, or like, the things you got to think about. And maybe Zoro's like, well, can't I just do this? And Mihawk's like, I never thought about it that way. Like I need to see a couple discussions like that at some point.
Yeah. I feel like we are in we're due for one, right? Like we're definitely due for some
Yes.
Mihawk conversation, whether it be something that Mihawk hasn't thought of before, or whether it's about the black blades, because we still don't know how to blacken a blade. Like that is still a mystery. I think Mihawk and Ryuma are the only two characters in the entire verse so far that has a blackened blade.
Yep, only two.
Yep, and we don't know how to do it.
Nope.
Some people are saying that it's to kill a bunch of people. That's not it. People are saying it's because of hockey. That's not it. It's like we have no clue.
Yeah, Road to Laugh-Tale was like, is it simply hockey? And I'm like, okay, well, the fact you asked that question means it's not.
Means no, yeah. Oda's laughing at us when he writes that one out, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or what I also thought was funny is when in the Road to Laugh-Tale, it was also like, where's the missing road poneglyph? Is it on this island, or this island, or this island? Or what about these islands? It's on none of them. It's on a ship that's moving around constantly with the man marked by flame.
Yeah, he brought up Vera. Do you remember that? He
Yeah,
said, maybe it's on Vera, or what is it, like Thunder Island or something random.
Yeah, I think he said, I think the three he listed were Elbaf, Vera, and Sphinx, but then he had like subtext under it with like more islands, and then, but it's none of them.
Yeah, just throw every island in there. Yeah, maybe it's Ohio.
Yeah,
Like-
which if it was here, because I'm in Ohio, I will go get it. I will
I
go
doxed
get
you,
it.
dang.
No, don't worry, my channel knows it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I didn't even know you were in Ohio. I should have said
I'm in
North
Ohio.
Dakota. That's always my second choice.
That's my name. You can't see. What are you
North
dogging all
Dakota, Ohio. Yeah, God damn it.
Dak is short for Dakota. You know
Dang
what I
it.
mean?
I should have known.
I got two states named after me. You know, it's okay. I can't be mad, even if you slander it. You know, you're saying my name.
It's not even slander. I'm hyping it up. You know, I'm saying the fourth road poneglyph is over there with you, brother.
Hey, the fourth road poneglyph is in North Dakota, or did you say South? Which one? North or South?
North Dakota. It's better. It's
Okay.
better. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, people ask me all the time, North or South, like all the time. Like whenever I say my
Really?
name's Dakota, yeah. Like if I go and they're like, I don't know, like a
Wait,
doctor's
like
appointment.
no joke, your name's Dakota?
Yeah, like Dak is short
Oh,
for
I thought you were
Dakota.
joking.
No,
Oh,
I'm serious. Dak is short
wow.
for Dakota. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So whenever like I go to
Ohio,
like
Dakota, what's next?
I know. I've all the questionable states are aligned in one person. Yeah, like whenever I go to like the doctors or even just anything random where I have to tell like a receptionist of some kind my name, it's like there's a 50% chance they don't even respond with like okay, they respond with North or South. Like I have to play it off.
Did you partake in?
Yeah, like I have to like answer
That's so
it.
funny.
I know.
And you said you always pick North, right?
Yeah, well, you know, North is probably, if I were to move to one, I would probably pick North. But not that it really matters because they're virtually the same.
Yeah.
But I think North, because well, it's probably the only reason why is because North and South Dakota have like some of the lowest cost of living in the U.S. So it's like actually a good reason to move there. I think North has the lowest, so that's why I say that one. But
we should combine the Dakotas together. Like, what's stopping them?
No. We got to get two more. We need East and West.
Yeah, like East and West.
Yes.
Oh no, not the East Dakota. Dragon's gonna be there. Jeez.
That's usually
Staring off
the
in that
joke.
direction.
That's usually the joke I play off of with it. Is like they'll say North or South, and like depending on my mood, you know, because sometimes I don't really feel like engaging in it. But the funniest answer that I usually go with is like we're working on East and West. That's like my answer, usually like the best answer. But
I love
but then
that.
if I say that, then it's a whole conversation. It feels like I'm too engaging if I say that. Then they're gonna keep talking to me. So then, you know, usually I'm at
You
the
make
doctor's.
this sound like this is a everyday conversation, like an everyday circumstance. You're always put in the North versus South debate for Dakota.
Dude, sometimes it like if I do a mobile order at a fast food place, it'll happen. You know,
Stop, no.
dude, like at the Wendy's near me, thankfully, like they know. I said they know me, which like sounds terrible. Like I go there like every day.
Yeah, you go there
like,
every day.
But it's happened enough times where they don't do it at Wendy's anymore. And like at McDonald's, you don't say your name. But like if I go to somewhere new, there's a 50% chance they respond with North or South.
Did you hear that Wendy wants to put like AI pricing? Yeah, surge pricing. Yeah.
They backed that down already. They said it's not going to happen. Now is that them trying to, you know, like because the backlash was so bad, are they just saying this temporarily until it actually happens and then they'll go back on it or whatever? You know, we'll see. But I'm just telling you right now, like if I go to Wendy's and it's really busy and it's a long line and I get to the front of the line and the Baconator's like twice as much as it was before, I'm going home. and I'm never coming back. You know what? Like ever.
But you know how those fast food places are. Like you have the little the midway, so you can't actually leave the drive-thru until the very end. So you have to wait through the line anyways.
Yep.
That's
and then
so
I would
funny.
never go back. I would never go back. You know, and so I don't think they're actually going to do that because it would just they should do the reverse. They should do where the prices are already high enough. We don't need to increase them. Just keep them where they're at. But maybe if it's really slow or it's a day that historically in the data you have low sales because maybe it's like Christmas Eve or something, you know what I mean, where people don't go.
Yeah, everything's
then
like
lower
half
the
off.
then lower the prices a little bit. Like do reverse dynamic pricing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like make it low so we're attracted to go there because it's normally so high. Like I don't understand. Like I don't. Sometimes I feel like things are just too simple, you know, and people.
Yeah, no. When I heard surge pricing, I was like, yo, we're living in the future. But I also thought about how people would not like that, you know? Like nobody's going to Wendy's and wanting to spend like $20, for example.
Yeah,
like that's not really a thing.
Yeah, like I said, if you get to the front and the Baconator's twice as much as you expected, you're like, how does this work? Like, how is that fair in any way, shape, or form? Now, I will say this might be controversial, but if they did the surge pricing for like people who go there and order, but if you ordered through the app, it was locked in, like at the normal prices.
Oh.
I can kind of get behind that because like it incentivizes you to use the app, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can still, it's free to everyone. It's not like they're paywalling it. It's just like, hey, it's cheap. It's easier and cheaper for us if you use the app and everything goes smoother. So we'll reward you with the low prices. But then if you come through the line, which like that's coming through the line, saying your order through the mic and having like a million changes and having multiple orders. And that's what makes things confusing. You know what I mean? It makes things take longer. But if you do mobile orders, it's super easy. So I'd be okay with that, but that's not what I don't think they're going to do it though. But
yeah.
You know.
Last thing I want to ask you, and this was a question that came in from Patreon. They had a whole lengthy response or a lengthy explanation, but base level, I'm going to break it down. What do you think about Foxy or somebody from his lineage being a part of the God Knights? I'm sure you've heard that theory before, because I remember that was big when we first got the silhouettes, and then we saw like the wacky ears.
Yeah.
Or not wacky ears, but like the wacky design. Do you think there's a chance that Foxy has Holy Knight lineage?
So I'm not sure if it's Holy Knight lineage specifically, but maybe Celestial Dragon lineage, right? Because God's Knights are Celestial Dragons, so it fits the same mold. Because the God's Knights, like then we're comparing Foxy to Shanks at that point. You know what I mean? Like the two people who are of God's Knights, probably. Like that would, maybe, but that would be a little bit much. But Celestial Dragons, I'm totally with. Before I answer though, I'm just curious, was this a question for me specifically from the Patreon group? Or did you
it was
pick
for both of us?
Okay, it was just because Foxy's like my guy, so I just didn't know if this was
really?
Like specifically. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he is.
I'm a big Foxy supporter. I'm
looking at the profile
that.
picture. It should have just hit me.
Yeah, I'm big Foxy guy.
I hated Foxy so much.
So I do think he has I'll put it this way. The Celestial Dragon part, like, I don't have a lot of evidence other than that panel that's in question. You know what I mean? Where like the
I
guy.
can't even find the panel now. I'm like looking for it. I'm like, where was it again?
I can see it in my mind's eye. I think it was. Oh man,
was it God Valley or was it when they were talking to Emu?
Yeah, was it? Oh my God!
It's
I gotta
like
look.
A fever dream now, right?
I can see it in my mind's eye right now. Like I know what the panel looks like. Like if I could do a Google image search. Yeah, like dude, I don't know.
Foxy Holy Knights One Piece. Surely somebody has an image up there somewhere, right?
They have to.
I'm just seeing the Holy Knight silhouettes, but I know that's not the Foxy panel people are talking about. Oh dang, it's gonna haunt me now. It's gonna haunt me.
Oh,
I think it's God Valley. I think I'm just gonna take the guess and say it's God Valley.
It's because one of like the guys are giving intel to Saturn, right? And that's like the panel. Like he's like, or one of the Goresei or I can't, whatever it was. He's like walking behind him.
Oh, it was during the Kuma flashback. Yeah. It was during the Kuma flashback.
Yeah. You're right.
All right. Now, before we end the video off, we have to find the panel real quick.
Yeah. Oh, I found it. 1099. I found it.
1099.
1099. Like the second, third, fourth page. Fourth, technically. Third, if you're on TCB, because like the double page is one.
Yes. There it is. The Holy
Yep.
Land, Marie Joie, and then you see a guy wearing a like. He's kind of wearing his jacket like CP0 a little bit, so it could be a Cypherpole agent even. But yeah, they got like the weird Foxy head.
Yeah. So so like I said, it's tough to say if he is like relative to a God's Knight or Celestial Dragon because this is the only evidence we have necessarily. But I'll say this, that I definitely think Foxy is going to come back and is going to have a major role, like not major in the sense of like main antagonist. You know what I mean?
He's gonna be the one that takes down Blackbeard.
But for example, I could see him like Hidden Island has already talked about Foxy maybe being one of the weak crews that follow Shanks because like they're all really weak, and so maybe Foxy is in that boat. And there's even a guy who hugs Shanks that looks kind of like Foxy, like on Elbath. So I could see that. But I think what might be even better is that Foxy joins the Cross Guild, and Foxy is the one who convinces them to start doing Davy back fights. And that's how the Cross Guild versus Davy back fight happens. Is Foxy is in there instigating it by being in the Cross Guild. And now tying this to the Celestial Dragon part, it's hard to say if he is related to them directly, but I think we are definitely going to find out that eventually, that in the past, a Davy back fight was really important for like the fate of the world in some way. Like Joy Boy partook in one against Emu, which like is the craziest version of it. But maybe it could be more like the Ancient Kingdom did Davy back fights all the time, right? There's like a lot of layers to it, but I just think the Davy back fight in general is going to become something that's way more emphasized on, where like it had an important role in the past. And I'm betting that Foxy's relative in the past was involved in that Davy back fight.
That'd be crazy.
And so maybe that Foxy from the past, like his ancestor, did become a Celestial Dragon, but maybe somehow Foxy's lineage, he got out of there somehow. Who knows? So that might be a way on how the connection works. But no matter what, Foxy will definitely matter a lot. And maybe this panel was our hint, maybe it's not, but he will be important for sure.
I love that. I'm always a fan of villains returning. I think one villain that's definitely going to return too. Out of all of them from pre-time skip, I think it would be Arlong. I feel like that's a safe one to bet on just because of his ties to Jinbei. I think that's the only reason. I just ties to Jinbei, they're brothers. Arlong was a little bit racist, like maybe he's going to be different by the next time we see him. I don't know. Maybe he'll be the one who saves Shirahoshi. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Oh, that would be so rad, actually. That would... Because here's the thing, is like every other villain has come back pretty much, right? Like almost. I mean, maybe not Captain Kuro. What I mean?
Dude, somebody had a crazy Captain Kuro theory. They said, how like we're getting so many... Not Cypherpole, Cross Guild. I think... If somebody needs a home, throw them in Cross Guild. But somebody said, hey, like since a lot of the Marine Vice Admirals are being named after dogs, maybe Cross Guild are gonna get the cats, which is Captain Kuro and his gang.
Oh,
like, that's kind of solid. Cats versus dogs.
Because they already have like Moji, right?
Yeah.
Who like has the lion thing, right, or whatever. I think.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying the names right. I love that, the cats and dogs thing. That's actually that's a great idea.
That's such a good idea.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, people are great sometimes. Like sometimes I'll hop in the comment section and I find like absolute gold. I kind of wish I wrote down the names, but like I'm sure that person knows who they are.
Yeah, man, it's crazy how like the comments or like on Discord, like in my Discord, a lot of times like people will just say something. I'm like, dude, how have we not thought of that? Like how that is, like it's just like so amazing. Like I would have like sometimes it's obvious and I'm like, man, I feel like we should have thought of that sooner and we didn't. And I'm amazed. Or sometimes it's something that I'm like, how did you even think of that? Like, it's like both sides of it where like people just bring up the craziest stuff. But then in between those amazing comments, which there's plenty of them, there's also some not so good comments. So like, so like when you're looking through to try to find the good ones, you read so many bad ones. You're like, okay, I'm getting a little drained here. But when you find those good ones, man, sometimes they cook like hard.
Like I said, like 90% of comments are really solid, but there's that like 10% that's it kind of strikes you like, oh, like how does this guy live in real life? Like this guy's a lunatic. Like,
yeah, like the ones that like disagree or just say like I bring up something I said that was wrong or like I forgot to mention something, like those are great because like those are so legit, like they're correct, whatever. Like those are fine. But there are some, like you said, where I'm just like, dude, you made this comment with like like an
Yeah, you
agenda,
just
like
got
a
for this
bad
one.
attitude. Like you're here to like make people feel bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I don't understand. So I just those people I just hide from the channel though. But
Yeah, I forgot. There was one the other day that was really funny. They I forgot what it was. I was talking about how like Luffy beat Kizaru in Saturn, and I said, hey, like if Kizaru wants to fight Luffy and stand a chance, he needs an awakening because he's not doing good.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, oh, like why do you think Kizaru needs to win? I'm like, what are you talking? Like, like they'll take like the smallest thing and like twist it 1,000%. I'm like, all right, this is kind of silly.
Yeah, I get that 100%. Like when you start talking about hypotheticals, then it gets like like we're talking serious, and I'm like, look, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, if this happens, this is what needs to happen. Not that I think these things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
I totally get it. And I mean, part of that I think is sometimes people
It's Twitter's fault. I blame the online communities.
or people are skipping through the video and they just hear a thing. I get it, but like personally, whenever I hear stuff like that and it's really crazy, I just don't comment on it.
Yeah. I do the same.
So yeah.
But hey, man, thank you so much for stopping by. You have any like final thoughts for us, or what are you cooking?
One final thought, I guess, just something I was going to mention earlier with the Zoro stuff, and I forgot. I just want to say because the 11/11 stuff's coming up, so I just wanted to give a quick little prediction. Is that I think that is where we're going to find out about Asura and what that Ashura, whatever you say it. I don't know if there's an H or not. I've seen it spelled both ways, but Ashura.
Yeah.
Because with the 11/11 thing, that's the Zoro chapter. It should be blah blah blah, but we haven't found out anything about Ashura. But it should be an underworld-esque related thing because it's ties to the demons from Hindu mythology and stuff, like the opposite side of Sun Wukong to some degree, right? Like the evil and good side of that mythology. So it should be like an underworld-esque thing. And here we are with the Goresei arriving, and they are most likely underworld-esque things, in my opinion. Like they're using summoning circles, which we only saw in Brook's time skip, which was meant to summon demons from the underworld, right? So I think that Oda has been stalling Zoro against Lucci so that Zoro can do Ashura to finish off Lucci, just like he did against Kaku. Don't forget that. That's the first time he ever used it was against Kaku. So he'll use it to defeat Lucci. And I think the Goresei will see it in some way or like feel the aura or something and make a comment of like, whoa, how does that guy have this power? Or like, we haven't seen that since 800 years ago or something to that effect. I think that's the 11/11 shocker for Zoro. Whenever that
would
comes.
be nice.
Ashura.
That would be a perfect way to not only finish off the Lucci fight, but it would be a perfect way, like you said, to tie into the Goresei and explain or give us a hint as to what their powers are. Yeah, I love that.
On the head. It's like reverse engineering who the Goresei are, right?
Yeah.
And to tie into that, there's a reason why Brook has not seen them yet. He has not seen the circles yet. He's been away on the ship this entire time.
It's very purposeful, man.
And when if Brook flies over the Fabrio stratum and sees all those circles as the Sunny's like flying over, and Brook's like, "Oh, I remember those from the time skip." Blah blah blah. Like all of that would just fit together so well, right? So I'm ready for it.
I'm ready for it, dude. And hey, like even if Brook's ship doesn't fly off, the Goresei have shown intent to want to go up to the Labo phase. So Brook is gonna run into him one way or another. It's unavoidable. Canon event.
Absolutely. And Brook, and like I said, that's the last thing Saturn wants, because Brook's going to spill the beans. Brook's going to be like, oh, I saw you when I was in the underworld one time. And then we're all just going to be like, what did you just say?
Talking about?
What did you just say? Like, because Brook has been there. That's how he has ice powers, is he channels the chill of the underworld and stuff, right? He's been
even
there
beyond
before.
that. Brook is an old man. He probably has some crazy stories about the Goresei. Like, hey, I heard of this creature that lived over here, or this guy that did that.
Ooh.
Like, Brook is so old, you can kind of give him anything.
Dude, what if like in Brook's time, the Goresei, like one of them showed their form somewhere, and Brook like heard about it, and he's like, "Oh, yeah. I remember back then there was a story about this creature causing damage somewhere." Like, Brook is gonna cook. Brook and Zoro are both about to cook. There's a reason why they've been separated from the Goresei this whole time. There's a reason.
And Brook was he was a cavalryman for his country at one point too. We don't know what country it is. Yep. We don't know. Nope. We don't even know if it's still around. So it's like, yo, maybe Brook's country is gone. Maybe he knows something about the Goresei. I feel like they could cook with that, dude. Super hard.
And the fact Brook was, I think he said he was part of a convoy or something. But yeah, he was like some kind of law enforcement or something, right? Some kind of
soldier,
army, soldier, something for a country. And every country is going to have some kind of militia, but only world government allied ones get like marine backing and stuff. And I feel like Brooks might be Marine backed because like if he was a part of this important convoy or whatever, it's like maybe it was important because they're government affiliated, and you know what I'm saying? Like there's like
Yeah.
that. It was like a big time country, I guess is what I'm getting at. And so maybe we will find out that Brooke does know a thing or two about this. And like I said,
Man.
there is a reason why he and Zoro have not seen them yet. That like Oda is doing it for a reason, for sure. So
If I was
can't wait.
Blackbeard and Brooke was on my crew, man, I sit this dude down. I talk to him, be like, yo, tell me everything. You know what I mean? Like, Luffy has not done that. Luffy hasn't said, hey, Brooke, tell me about your era. Tell me about everything you've done. Same with Robin.
Yes.
Robin just revealed in Wano that the Alabasta poneglyph said that Pluton is in Wano. It's like, Robin, it's been 800 chapters. You kidding me? We just learned about this?
And I love that you brought that up because I also think she knows about Uranus already, but she just hasn't said anything. So
and
she already knows.
Throw that in.
Yep. Whenever we go to Elbaf, she's gonna go talk to like Prince Loki's dad and be like, "Hey, I know Uranus is here," and he's gonna be like, "What'd you just say?
Yeah.
What?"
And then she's like, "I read it in the poneglyph back in Alabasta, or like I read it in the Skypiea poneglyph." It's like, damn, all right, Robin.
Because if you go back when like she
would have
told
loved that
Suki,
one.
When she told Sukiyaki about Pluton, he had like this like super shocked face. He's like, "How? Whoa, what? Like, how do you know?" And then when she told Neptune, she was like, "Who is Joy Boy?" He just dropped his gourd he was drinking out of. He's like, "What? Did you
Joy Boy?"
What? It's like you know that meme where the guy's like blinking a lot, like what? Like
yeah,
like, that was Neptune and Sukiyaki, and that's going to be Loki's dad or Loki himself because Loki's like 80 years old now, or 60, 70 years old, 66 or something like that. So he should have that intel by now. He's old enough to have it passed down, so he might even know. That's actually what I talked about in my Shiki video a little bit about. Is like Loki might be Shiki's key to getting Uranus because I think Shiki's going after it. So we don't have to get into that whole discussion.
Yeah, no, but also shout out to your Shiki video because that's when I hit you up, was the day you posted it, by the way.
Oh, hey, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I didn't finish watching it, but Mr. Bushido promoted it. He was like, hey, like I really like this theory. I'm like, all right, I got you. I was like, I need to hit up Dax again.
That's my guy, man. He because part of his theory is in there because he had a theory about Shiki that Ohara did a video on, and I was like thinking about their theory in relation to mine, and it fit perfectly. So there's like a section of mine where I'm like, hey, Mr. Bushido and Ohara did this video. I'm gonna break it. I'm gonna give you the summary, but you need to go watch it because blah blah blah. So yeah, Bushido seemed like he liked it because it fit in perfectly with his pretty much. So major shout out to him.
Major shout outs.
And a question for you, I guess, but also for the chat, because I don't think any of us know the answer to this, but I just think it's a fun question. Because you mentioned Brooke, like if Blackbeard had Brooke on his crew, he would sit him down and be like, Brooke, tell me everything. Like what do you know? Well, if Pudding were to use her powers on Brooke, would it work?
Yeah.
Because there's no brain inside.
I think it would work.
Because for me, I think it could, it's up in the air, but I'm guessing it wouldn't. Pudding's wouldn't work, but Kuma's would with the memory ejection. That's my guess, because Pudding takes a tangible version of the memory because she like cuts out the like the you know what I mean. It's like very tangible, and I'm just like, if there isn't a brain in there to be holding it tangibly, how does that? And with the way powers work, who knows? But
yeah, that's kind of what I'm banking on. I'm like, maybe if Pudding imagines that this is possible, she can do it, but I'm not too sure. Like, but I do agree that she's like very logical. So there is a pretty good chance that if she were to go in there, open his head and see nothing, she'd be like, oh, never mind. I can't do it.
Because the way we saw it is she just like reaches her hand straight through the head and starts like feeling around to find the memories. And I can just see her reaching into Brooke's head and being like, there's nothing in here.
Yeah, she hits like a wall. She's like,
she like goes straight through the other side. Like, wait, what? Or maybe she just feels the tone dial. Like maybe all she gets is the lyrics to Bink Sake because it's like
that'd
in
be
the
so
tone
cursed.
Dial. Which I think would be hilarious though. Like it would be so funny.
Oh yeah, it'd be funny, but it'll also be like, damn, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Oh, final question for you now, since you hit me with one. Okay. What is your least favorite race or tribe in One Piece?
Least favorite? Man, is picking humans bad? Is that bad?
No, you can pick humans if you want. That's a fair one.
Let me think for another couple seconds here, because I've never thought about my least favorite. My favorite might be the Buccaneers now. I'm gonna be honest with you. They're climbing. They're climbing big time. But Least favorite, man.
My
I
f- hmm.
I'm I might pick humans. I I mean,
Least favorite is humans. Favorite is Buccaneer. Are you locking that
I'm
in?
gonna go. It's a tie between for least favorite. It's a tie between humans and minks. And the reason why I say minks isn't because I dislike them at all. It's because I like regular animals a lot. Like I have four pets,
Oh,
and they are just again like they're cool. I don't have actual issues, but they are basically a race of furries. And yeah, I like regular animals. I like my dogs and cats. I don't like them to talk. I mean, I like them to communicate, but not, speak
yeah,
English. So, or Japanese, I guess, in that case. But so yeah, I'm gonna go minks and humans tied because they're almost the same thing anyway, right? Because humans are
yeah. It's
like
just
hairless monkey
furry
minks.
humans.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go tie between those two. What about you?
Favorite for me, I like Lunarians a lot. I like their wings. I like their white hair. I think it's
Good
pretty
call.
solid. So
Good
I
call.
think they're great. Also, they have like this built-in like invulnerability where they just don't get hurt. So it's
Yeah,
like yeah,
which
I think
which is
Lunarian's
obscene.
dope. Least favorite, I gotta give it to the the long-limbed people. And
Okay,
I
that's a
say
good
all of
call.
them, like legs, arms, neck. I hate all of them. I really think that the Celestial Dragons should have wiped them out already. I feel like there's no reason why they shouldn't have, right?
Didn't they have like
They
a
had the Hundred
thousand
Year
year
War.
war or 100 year
Yeah.
war? Or was it? Are you sure it was 100 and not a
I,
thousand?
hey, if it was 1,000 and they're still surviving, they're doing something wrong.
Right.
I could teach them all about warfare, but
Well, that's what I thought that was talked about for like because it was intel from before the Void Century. I thought that's like when it was revealed. I can't remember exactly
it
because we
was
do
we learned
have
about it when Brooke was summoned.
because I know we because I know there's like some intel on them, but also I actually need to make a quick change because I looked up all the races in One Piece just to make sure.
Your
You know,
hatred was well placed.
Yeah, and I actually do need to change my answer entirely. Well, okay. Well, one thing I'm going to say is the Snake Neck tribe can go. That's absolute. I didn't even know they were
Yeah,
confirmed
they're
tribe.
awful, dude. They're awful.
I'm good on them. Snake Neck, we don't need. But my least favorite, and this is going to be so toxic, and I know people aren't going to like this, but I gotta say it anyway. The Giants, because for how
Oh
strong they should be, they've been mid, and they make me angry. Because
no,
like
no, no. I agree.
every time we see the Giants, they get cooked, and and they're always talked about like they're daunting. And I understand they are, especially they're the ultimate fodder control right now. And I get that they're daunting in general. Like a normal human would have no chance. Every time we see them, they get cooked though. And
You are a man of reason. I love that.
thank you. I'm glad you don't hate it because some
No,
people
no.
do, but they get cooked every time, man. It's like Mother Carmel's flashback. Harudin got one-shotted. Big Mom beat Jarl or Yorl, whichever one it was. Like everywhere you look, they get cooked, and they're supposed to be daunting. So
Oimo and Kashi are Frankie family victims. Like, I mean, dude, like, I agree. I do not like the Giants, but now that we're in the final saga, now that we're seeing them show up, like with Shanks, with Straw Hat
yeah,
Luffy, Straw Hat Luffy, as if like we don't know him.
yeah.
I like
Is that a supernova?
yeah, Straw Hat Luffy. Seeing them attack Tosa, I feel like I'm slowly starting to like them. But before this arc, dude, I did not care for Giants, man. The bunch of fodder. John the Giant, dude. Oh my
Oh my,
god.
I know,
Oh
dude.
my
Like,
god.
it's embarrassing. Like how like to me, maybe it's not quite as bad, but you know how like we all make fun of Dragon because like he's not doing anything, he's looking east, and like he has this
Yeah.
great
At least he
reputation.
doesn't have
But
L's under his belt.
yeah, at least he hasn't lost. At
Yeah.
least that we know of. The Giants lose every time, and
Yeah.
actually, the Giants being here on Elbath, I am positive that this is well. Not that they're all going to die, but I'm positive that this is the end of the old Giant Warrior Pirates because we have the new Giant Warrior Pirates. You don't need
Yeah.
both, right? And also, Usopp sealed their fate 2 chapters ago because Usopp like looks at Dorian Broggy, and what does he say? Oh man,
Masters.
I thought I wouldn't get to see them in Elbath. You're not going to now. You know what I mean? Like if Usopp thought something then it's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So Usopp
Yeah.
thought he wasn't gonna get to see them. That was his belief for a time period. He's not going to. That's why they came here, in my opinion. Is Oda was like, Elbaf's gonna be a huge arc. I don't have enough time to talk about all these giants because if Dory and Brogy are there, they need a ton of shine. We have Saul to talk about. We got to learn about the royalty. We got to learn about the history of the giants. There's like way too much. I got to get rid of these guys. Let me take them to Egghead, and they'll get left behind.
Have them fight the Goresei.
They are gonna do.
That's crazy.
They are gonna do in Egghead what Jinbei and the Fishmen did in Whole Cake.
I like that. No. I actually I can see that. I think the giants can fight with the ancient robot. They'll hold off the Goresei, and then Luffy and the gang will leave. That's kind of where I'm at right now, at least.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it all makes perfect sense because if Dory and because remember when we left Little Garden, which was the island of the past, they Hakoku sovereigntied us away, right? They sent us flying away from the island through the goldfish.
Yeah.
Well, and there was also a cool moment where they were like, just go straight. And like, we're going in the mouth of the goldfish and everyone's freaking out. But like Luffy and Usopp are like, just go straight. Just listen to him. Just go straight. Well, Usopp's worried about it. Luffy's pumped about it. But you know what I mean? They're both like, everyone else isn't believing the giants, but those two are. They're like, let's go. Come on, just believe them. Just go straight. And then the Hakoku sovereignty sent them flying. And the Egghead plan right now, they were supposed to go flying like with the Vega Force and then Kude burst after a while and then get really far away. Well, the Vega Force is gone, so they got to get that initial boost before the Kude burst. So if the Dory and Brogy Hakoku sovereignty them, and maybe there's even a moment where like they're like, just go straight, just get going. And so like the Sunny is like going straight towards the armada of Marines. And then Dory and Brogy Hakoku sovereignty, the Sunny straight through the entire armada of Marines, and then they Kude burst the rest of the way. Like that would be so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it would leave the giants behind, like I was talking about. Like it would be too perfect. So that's how I suspect it's going to end. Pretty much what you said, plus Hakoku sovereignty, basically.
I love it. And the thing is too is that Dory and Brogy, even if they fall in battle here, it's a good death. I mean, they're falling for the Sun God. They believe in the Sun God. They owe Luffy. Like it's a big W for them.
Yep. I'm glad you said that because when I saw them arrive, I felt bad, but when I saw them arrive, I think the first thing I said was like, they're dead. Like the fact Oda brought them from the place we're going to the place we're at means they're not going to the place that they were just at.
We're not going to see these guys again.
Yep. I was like, oh my God, nope.
And then your racism kicked in and you're like, yeah, I don't even like giants.
Yep. And then, and you know, it goes to that Mr. 3 thing too. It's just like, it might be better to leave Dory and Brogy here and just leave them to the past, kind of, and just work with the new giants. Because, like, you know, that whole Little Garden thing, if Dory and Brogy are throwing hands, exactly. So yeah.
Like the weapons, I think are very excusable because the weapons were dulled, 100 years of battle. Sure, but like they couldn't break through the I don't know. I feel like we just need to scale Mr. 3 upwards. Maybe Mr. 3 is really a Yonko commander. Maybe that's it.
That might be the easiest way to fix all of the Giants issues. Well,
Mr. 3 is cool.
Also, I mean, I get Luffy was really strong by this point, but like one-shotting Harudin is also pretty bad. That's I mean, I know it's Luffy, but that's bad. You know, like,
the new giant era led by Harudin, who got one shot by Luffy. Was it base or gear second?
I think it was gear second, but which doesn't.
It's a little bit
really,
better. Better than base.
I'll put it this way: if it was gear third, so at least it's a comparable sized punch to the human, then okay. But it's like
gear second,
Harudin's
no
like,
hockey.
How tall is Harudin? Isn't he like 70
He's
feet
like
tall?
Like the Eiffel State Tower or something.
72. Wow, 72.2 or 72 feet 2 inches. Wow, I got that so close. You know, that's insane. So. I don't know. And the way that the Marines were just talking about the Giants, like, have you ever fought one? They're so tough. Like, you know, like, and I'm just like, every time I see them fight, they lose. I don't know if we're looking at the same Giants, you know, like even
it's called
Saul.
The Frankie family, you got it.
Yeah, like I love Saul. Don't get me wrong. I'm pumped to see Saul again, but even Saul just, you know, got froze right away.
Saul's a vice admiral, right?
Yeah, which like, you know, no shame losing to Aokiji. You know what I mean? Like that's fine.
Yeah,
but
you lost
even
to a god.
But even he just immediately lost.
He crumpled. He got like heavily injured due to cannon fire too.
Yep.
Because they were shooting Saul while he was trying to fight back, and he was like, ah! I was like, oh no.
Oh man, this. Yeah. It's so Oda needs to give them some shine, man. It's bad right now.
It's gonna happen. I feel it. All right, hey, thanks again, man, for joining me on this video. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to be here, man. Thank you. I know we went over time, but it was a great discussion. So
it was a great one.
Yeah, for
sure. I learned a lot of new
Thank you.
things. Good convo, great theories. You guys check out Dax down below. He's going to be linked down there. He makes a lot of great theories on his channel. He's posting more and more often too.
Yes,
I don't want to hold him to like this crazy standard, but yeah, he's posting out there. But hey, thank you guys again. And you guys have a great one. Peace out.
Peace.